Yo, it's your boy Ryan, Northwest Sports Fanatics, back at you with a new video. Today is Sunday, October 27th, 2024, with your boy Ryan and the Northwest Sports Fanatics. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. Smash that like button either now or on your way out. Donate to your boy if you can. Cash App, $ORIONNWSF, or the YouTube Super Chat right here. We got Sunday Night Football, the Dallas Cowboys, we damn boys, versus the San Francisco 49ers, bang, bang, Niner gang. Kickoff is going to be here in roughly 10 minutes, so let's get locked and loaded and get ready for this matchup. Let's get it, baby. Oh, baby. Dak Prescott, Brock Purdy, and I don't really want to say the battle of the bads. It's just maybe battle of the mids. Right now, the Cowboys are 3-3, 3-0 away record. Niners are 3-4 with a 2-2 record at home. Lots of injuries, for both of the teams. But again, this is one of the best rivalries in football in the 80s and 90s. Maybe not so much lately. Within the last couple years, it's been kind of one-sided. But I'm hoping that we end up having a decent matchup here tonight. And we've had some wild action on the college football side on Saturday. And we've actually had some crazy endings. Jaden, man, you just don't really know when you're going to see rookies step up the way that some of them do. And when you end up getting a Hail Mary and you end up getting a touchdown off of it and end up winning the game off of it, shout out to the Commandos. They're really putting the pressure on the Philadelphia Eagles. And again, it definitely feels like Lamar Jackson of the NFC. And that's something that we desperately need, to be able to have these quarterbacks pan out instead of having a lot of the quarterbacks that get drafted 1, 2, or 3 end up being busts. But hope everyone is having a fantastic day. Some of us are celebrating wins. Some of us are celebrating some, obviously, matchups that maybe ended up being a little bit better than, others. And then others were obviously a little down with the losses with our teams, but hopefully things will get better, obviously, as we go into next week. Megan in the building, what's good? Brandon in the building, what's good? Michael in the building, what's good? Yeah, don't be sorry for the Bucs. When you lose Mike Evans and you lose Chris Godwin, it wouldn't really surprise me if we lose almost every game the rest of the year. We're not going to make the playoffs. We're not going to win the NFC South. If you don't have Mike Evans and you don't have Chris Godwin, Baker isn't going to be as accurate, and we're not going to win games. So don't feel sorry for me one bit. The Atlanta Falcons are the healthiest team in the NFC South, and coincidentally, they're the best team right now. So, it shows you the Saints and the Bucs typically run the NFC South. But if you end up having too many injuries, then the Saints and the Buccaneers are out of the question. So Atlanta is going to win the NFC South by default. And again, they have a pretty good team this year. And anytime it seems like we wear the creamsicles, we lose. But I already knew that we were going to lose today. So don't feel sorry for me. Don't feel sorry for the Bucs. And at least my Oregon Ducks are the #1 team in the country. And we play Michigan on the road in the Big House next week. And hopefully we can end up keeping that #1 ranking. So at least I got one team out of the 5 that I root for that's somewhat good. All the others are kind of struggling at the moment. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 20 within the first hour, 30 to 50 overall, and obviously 100 in the donos on every single stream. Let's go. Britt in the building. What's good? Yeah, Jaden, well, we already kind of knew that he was going to be a good player, coming out of LSU. And again, it's the proper coach, the proper quarterback, and the proper mindset. And sometimes, when you end up having all of those things that line up, you end up getting the perfect piece. And it's not like Washington has been, drizzled with franchise quarterbacks. Again, they've had a few guys, Joe Theismann, they had Mark Rippon, and then they ended up having Alex Smith. But it's been kind of a long time where they've actually had someone, they've had guys for a little bit, like RG3 and Kirk Cousins, but Jaden Daniels, to me, he looks like he might end up being the best quarterback maybe in that team's history if he ends up staying his whole career there. Like if he ends up being on the Commandos for 15, 16 years, and he ends up playing his whole career there, he could end up being the best player, as quarterback for the Washington Redskins football team, Commandos, whatever you want to call them. But one thing is for sure, Jaden brings that excitement. He can run with his legs, but he actually is a good thrower as well. And you get pretty much a mirrored image of Lamar Jackson, but he's on the NFC side. So I love it. Tough loss for Caleb and the Bears. Caleb did not play well, obviously, today. And, it shows you no game is over until that last whistle is blown. Crazy. And, for me to be able to, I think everyone was shocked, if you haven't seen the ending of the Bears and the Commandos. But sometimes, it pays to be a little lucky, as well. And to have 4 or 5 guys go up, for a tip drill, and then to have one guy not boxed out, that's just sitting there, just waiting for it to go into his lap. And that's exactly what happened with Noah Brown. But congratulations to the Washington Commandos. They're going to the playoffs this year. They look dangerous. And again, Jaden Daniels has definitely given, the Washington faithful there hope and belief. And again, it's not only going to be for this year, it's going to be for many years to come. And I'm happy for him. I don't really like seeing shitty teams be shitty forever. And it's about time that they actually had something good go for them. You got rid of Dan Snyder, one of the worst owners in the NFL. And then you finally ended up hiring the right coach in Dan Quinn. Boom, you got the right quarterback in Jaden Daniels. Now things are starting to kind of fall into place for the Commandos. Let's go, baby. Yeah, if you would have, if you ended up checking, the wire this morning or on the, social media, they announced it late last night and early this morning that he was going to play. And again, sometimes, you have to be able to check up. I know you've been busy with birthday parties and whatnot, but yeah, especially with guys that have injuries, it's very critical to be able to kind of monitor, any updates that come through. And they said that he was going to play last night, and then they confirmed it this morning. But again, anytime someone has an injury like that, most times than not, they play bad, because they're not 100%. But with Jaden Daniels, a little bit of luck there at the end to kind of get him into that good fantasy number, obviously with that Hail Mary that was converted by Noah Brown. Let's go, baby. And hopefully this ends up being a somewhat competitive matchup here with the Cowboys and the Niners. Yeah, and then sometimes that happens when you have, too many, good players. That's a good problem to have. And then sometimes, it's hard to be able to pick, the one that you feel that's going to do the best. And you can't always realize at the time, what the best pick is. And it can't just necessarily just be on a green matchup or boom or bust numbers with percentages. Because I feel like if you go based off green, neutral, and red all the time, and you also go off boom or bust percentage, like 27% boom, 25% bust, that's not always going to be the case. And it's a percentage. It's not always going to be right. But I feel like a lot of people, they end up kind of, feeding into that type of information, and they kind of hold to that. Well, whatever it says, on ESPN Fantasy or whatever it says on Yahoo or whatever it says on NFL, that's what's going to happen. But if you go back, after the games have ended and you go back and see how many people had like red matchups that actually overachieved and played well, it's almost a little alarming. And it feels like it's a little bit different, this year based off points and just, players being able to succeed in red and neutral matchups. It seems like they're being able to do it a little bit more this year and, previous years. And obviously, if you had tight ends and you ended up having 2 on your roster, hopefully people ended up playing 2, but most people did not. And it's National Tight Ends Day, and we already know National Tight Ends Day, if you're going to bet money on a particular day for sports betting, this would have been the day to do it, even though the tight end position has been very shitty this year, point-wise. The quarterbacks are going to make it a point to get the ball to the tight ends, and they did. a big, they went above and beyond. I want to say it was a big day, but again, some guys ended up even getting 20 plus points in fantasy, and even like my guy Kate Otten ended up getting in the end zone twice. And sometimes that'll happen. Sometimes you'll even get guys that'll get in the end zone 3 times, like George Kittle did a couple of years ago. I don't know if it was last year or the year before, but I know he got in 3 times. I believe last year or the year before. I think it was last year when they played. So you never know. And especially with all the injuries that we've been having with wide receivers and running backs, we'll have to see what we end up getting here tonight with the tight ends, and if they both get in the end zone or if they get in the end zone more than once. Sarah with the $1, appreciate you. Stacks on stacks, racks on racks. Little Cactus Jack, bang bang, $1 holla, 99 to go. Appreciate you. Let me know what you want to do for the photo, and I got you. Son of God, I agree. You know, it's a fun matchup, and it also depends on how old you are. You know, as well, if you ended up watching these teams battle it out in the 80s and 90s when they were 2 of the best teams in the NFL overall, obviously it doesn't really have the same type of kind of vibe, you know, based on like Troy Aikman, Emmitt Smith, Michael Irvin, Dion, going against Joe Montana, Roger Craig, Tom Rathman, Jerry Rice, John Taylor. So it's a little different, you know, but again, it's still a fun rivalry. And like you said, you know, either people are rooting for the Cowboys to lose, or you're rooting for them to win, you know, or you're rooting for the Niners to get it done, or maybe you're a fan of a team in the division and you're hoping that they lose. But either way, whether you want the teams to, you know, shit the bed or play great, it ends up being usually a pretty decent matchup. And in the last couple years, we've had blowouts in this particular matchup. Cowboys, I think they won the first 2 matchups in the last 5 years, but the Niners have dominated in the last 3. So, and the last 2 matchups have been pretty big blowouts. So we'll see if we end up getting that today. But since the 49ers are injured and they're not healthy like they were last year when they played the Cowboys, I don't think you're going to get like a 42-10 kind of game. You know, it might end up being a little bit closer than people think. So, Captain in the building, what's good? Yeah, I do too. I mean, I'm on the brink of losing again, and again, it's like I just don't have enough, you know, superstar power to be able to carry my team, you know, and hopefully we'll get McCaffrey back in a couple weeks, and you know, but it's not like I'm going to be able to make the playoffs anyways, more than likely. But I'm going to need 25 points out of Mason tonight, which is a lot. I'm going to need 15 out of Aubrey, even though he did jury duty all week, but I know he can make kicks. And then I'm going to need Russell Wilson on Monday night probably to give me 25 to 30 if I want to be able to keep up with Elliott or have a chance to beat him. So not the ideal situation for me, you know, here, but you never know. You know, anything is possible, you know, especially if you get a couple 50-yard kicks, you know, that's 5 points each. So I'm just really hoping that, you know, the Cowboys can find themselves close, you know, but they obviously have problems in the red zone. So hopefully that'll cater to Aubrey for me and Brett, and we can get some points there. And we're about to kick off here between the Cowboys and the Niners. Toby in the building. What's good? Yeah, good win for USC for you, Megan. And again, it's been a very up and down year for every team other than Oregon that came over from the Pac-12. You know, Washington, USC, and UCLA have been struggling. And again, I don't know if I really, you know, if you go and look at it, but I feel like the Pac-12 is more competitive than the Big Ten. Like, I feel like the matchups, and even though, you know, some of these teams, UCLA, USC, and obviously Washington have lost a lot of pieces and some have lost their coach. I get it, you know, but it just seems like top to bottom, you know, last year and even going into years past, the Pac-12 top to bottom is a better conference, you know, with the teams that we had in it compared to top to bottom in the Big Ten. Because there's a lot of teams in the middle and the bottom of the Big Ten that are absolutely fucking terrible. So, you know, you're going to be able to scoop up wins, you know, from some of those teams at the bottom, but, you know, there's nothing that we can do at this point. Finley in the building. What's good? Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Let's go, baby. I need 15 from Aubrey. I need 24 or 25 out of Jordan Mason, which is very aggressive. The highest point total he put up this year is 24. So I'm going to need 25 out of Mason, 15 out of Aubrey, and I'm going to need 25 to 30 out of Russell Wilson against the Giants, which I think is possible. And Elliott's got George Pickens on Monday night. So if Russell scores, Pickens is going to be a part of that. So we'll see how it goes. And here we go. We got a flag on the play right out of the gates. Maybe a hold. Illegal formation. And I really want to give a shout out to Amari Cooper for the Buffalo Bills for giving me 1 fucking point in fantasy. You bastard. How does everyone else get fucking points but him? Unbelievable. And it's like I've been able to roster some of the other receivers there, and I know Captain Oreo had both of them on the bench for almost 20 apiece. Unbelievable, man. And that's why fantasy is so fucking frustrating, just when you feel like you got, something going, and then the player, ends up shitting the bed and only gets like 1 fucking catch. He played good last week, but they're definitely not treating Amari Cooper like a true number 1 for Josh Allen, which is unfortunate. And again, it's really hard to be able to win in fantasy when you end up getting a 0 or a 1 out of one of your players, and that is big facts. Yeah, I think you did make a mistake by dropping him because he did end up getting double digits last week, and I think he is going to be a good player. It just was a bad week this week, but he's putting up normally bigger numbers than some of the other guys that you had. So one bad week doesn't determine a player's overall season. So. Just wish, he would have been able to get the ball a little bit more instead of going to Keon Coleman or, obviously, Khalil Shakir. But it is what it is. Yeah, a different player, obviously, on a different team, though. Being on the Browns and getting passes from Deshaun Watson and then going to Josh Allen, it's different. So, and even Jameis Winston has proved that he's a better quarterback than Deshaun Watson, as you saw. The Browns end up beating the Ravens today. So probably should have had Jameis starting at the beginning of the year. And I know Amari will play better, as the season goes on. There are going to be some games where he puts up, 15, 20, and maybe if we get lucky, 25 to 30 points at least once before the season ends. But again, when you end up having an offense like that, with so many different options, James Cook is going to be the first, but they got a plethora of options to go to. 2nd down and 10. Little screen pass to CeeDee Lamb. Good tackle there by the Niners. But again, for some people, it's been a great fantasy year, like Reflect, and, for Shep and Zini, even Matt has been pretty consistent up there. But for the rest of us, it's been not really fun. And it's been very challenging. And again, it's like if you don't have top tier players and if you're not healthy, it's like you don't really have a chance. Nice tackle by the Niners by Fred Warner and company. There you go. I don't know. Jameis threw for 300 yards. Again, Deshaun Watson's terrible. The only reason that you ended up starting him on the Browns is because of the money that was owed. When you end up having a horrible contract and you have an idiot owner and an idiot coach and a bunch of idiot, people that are there, it shows that, we're just waiting in the wings. If they would have never got rid of Joe Flacco, that could have been the guy. But Jameis will have turnovers, but he'll also make big plays. And the offense looked really fucking good for the Browns today. Good thing Debo didn't drop that. Good punt there by Dallas. All right, let's see what the Niners can do here today.
It's go time. And at AAA, we're here for it. Here at the front.
I already told you that, my guy. I told you that already a long time ago. And even Trevor Lawrence, I'm not sure if that's the answer there. Obviously, you're going to have to keep some pieces, but, you're going to have to. I mean, again, you guys were the worst team in football for 2 years in a row. Then you had 1 year of kind of success, and then you guys are kind of backtracking again right now. So it shows that, it's a what have you done for me lately type of league. And things might be good for a couple years, but it can instantly go to shit real quick. Or you could be the worst team in football for 2 years and then turn it around, and it looks like everything is going to be easy breezy cover girl, and everything's going to be great, peaches and cream. But then, you have a couple injuries here, or you just play bad, or you have bad coaching or bad play calling, and then things can spiral very, very quick. I did see the Bears in Washington. Yeah, I watched a lot today. Hail Mary by Jaden Daniels, and I would like to say that I was surprised by that, which most people were, but if anyone were to come up with a play like that, it would be someone like a Jaden Daniels or like a Lamar Jackson. Someone that can throw it deep, and you never know. We already know Aaron Rodgers is very good at the Hail Mary, but maybe Jaden Daniels is, maybe this is just destiny, for that particular team. Especially when Chicago thought that they had the dub when scoring with just a couple seconds left, and with 2 seconds left, having to hit that Hail Mary and getting a tipped, obviously football in the end zone for Noah Brown was pretty amazing to see. Oh, lady soccer, nice. All right, let's see what the Niners can do here. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 20 in the first hour, 30 to 50 overall, and 100 in the donos on every stream. We're at 199 to go. Let's go, baby. Shotgun set. Little halfback toss. Nothing there. All right, we're at 10. 10 more to go. We're at 10. 10 more to go to 20. Bro, he's terrible. He might be the worst quarterback in the NFL. I know, being a Florida fan and whatnot, but he ain't it, man. He's terrible. I mean, like I said, I saw a quote, a few days back that said that, he's the Daniel Jones of Cam Newton's, and it's so true. The guy can't complete a pass. I mean, he can run, and every once in a while he can make a cool run and, and go that route and scramble, but, he just doesn't have enough experience, under his belt, and again, doesn't know when to go down at the right time, can't make the normal throws. It just definitely was a wasted pick, if we're just being honest. He's a bust, and I don't really think he's going to get that much better. You just have to come to a decision sometimes that you fucked up, and not every pick that we do is going to be a one that pans out. And even if you put him on another team, I don't think it's going to work. Some guys are just on bad teams, and then they go to another team, and then they can kind of make their way, like a Baker Mayfield, going from the Browns and going to the Panthers and the Rams, and finally finding himself in the Bucs. I really feel like with AR, you can pretty much put him anywhere. He just can't do it. He's just not a good player. As far as accuracy is concerned, completion percentage, I mean, he's got some of the lowest numbers in NFL history. And, sometimes you just got to cut your losses. And especially if you got a capable, guy sitting there on the sideline, at some point they need to be able to make the change. But I don't know if they're going to, based on the money that's owed and the draft pick, how high they drafted him. Floater going deep. He's open. First down. Niners, move the chains. What a throw, what a catch. I mean, it's unfortunate when you end up having, someone that you end up hoping that's going to turn the franchise around, but sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Man in motion. Hand off. Come on, Jordan. I need some big fucking numbers today. I would disagree with that, Finley, that the quarterback class isn't that good. I think Caleb has actually flashed. Jaden Daniels is good. Drake May got hurt, but obviously he's going to show a little bit of flashes. We haven't got to see too much of Michael Penix Jr., obviously being the backup to Kirk, which he could end up being one of the best out of the draft class, and McCarthy is hurt. So if we're really being honest, if we're comparing the Trevor Lawrence draft class or the Desmond Ridder draft class, this draft class is actually better than the last 2 or 3. Even with just Caleb and Jaden Daniels, just those 2 players alone, if you don't want to throw Drake May in there, But it's like, looking at Trevor Lawrence and fucking Zach Wilson and Justin Fields and, Mac Jones and Trey Lance. I mean, terrible. Desmond Ridder, Malik Willis, terrible. So, if we're really being honest, this is actually one of the better draft classes that we've had because we still don't know about Penix and McCarthy, and there's a good chance that one or both will be a little bit better than people think. So, and again, May being on the Patriots, you're going to be limited, on what he can do. So, once they have better players around him, he'll get better. But I actually do think this draft class is good. Caleb is better than Justin Fields. You think that you think the Chicago Bears would have the record they have with Justin Fields? Fuck no. Caleb, has had bad games, but he's had some pretty good ones too. And it's not necessarily going to be always on him, as being a rookie. Now, Jaden Daniels is better than Caleb, but I still think both have played decent, up to this point. And even Drake May has had a couple good games in this early part of his career. So, but I guess it just depends if you're watching other teams play or not. So, 3rd down and 10. Third down and 10. Mason up the gut. Field goal is up and good. 3-0 Niners. But it really does show you that, everyone always gets hyped up for the draft and the quarterbacks, but there's 32 teams, 32 quarterbacks that to be able to, hold it down for that particular franchise. But that doesn't mean that we actually have 32 quality quarterbacks in the NFL. It's like you got 16 out of the 32 that are kind of respectable, and the other 16 really aren't that good on a consistent basis. And then out of the 16 that are good, you're going to have a top 10, and then you're going to have the others that are ranked, 11 through 16 that are going to be good like once out of every 3 games. They're not going to be good every game. They might be good every other game or every 3rd game, but that's what makes them 11 through 16 and not top 10 because they're just not as consistent as the guys that are typically in the top 10 that are good week to week or every other week. So nice field goal there. 3-0 Niners. What's good, Matt? Yeah, but again, Broncos should have won that game. If the Broncos would have lost to the Panthers, that would have been a terrible loss for that franchise. So, and Patrick Surtain, the best corner in football, making his presence known. And I love defense too. Just like Jesse Bates III on the Falcons, just all over the place on the Buccaneers. And I've already come to terms, that the season's over. No Mike Evans, no Chris Godwin. Baker isn't going to be as good as he was with those guys. He's going to get exposed. He's still going to end up being a top 16 quarterback, but he's not going to be a top 8 or top 10 quarterback anymore. He's going to fall into that category from a few years ago, like a Kirk Cousins or a Carr or a Tannehill from a few years ago when those guys were ranked 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, somewhere in there. That's where Baker is going to end up sliding just because we don't have that talent, on that. You got McMillan and you got a few other guys like Sterling Shepard, but that's not fucking, 2 Hall of Famers in Godwin and Evans. And, it's just going to be a long, long fucking year for us. And I was really hoping to win the NFC South and go to the playoffs, but Bucs are not making the playoffs, and it wouldn't really surprise me if they don't win very many games the rest of the year, if I'm being honest. It's going to be very difficult to be able to win games without some of your top guys playing. So let me know what you want to do for a photo. You might have already typed it in. to the chat, Sarah. But we're at 199 to go. I don't really need to clean house. I mean, the Jags, your team does. Your team needs a clean house. I just have injuries. You know, like I said, I got a good offensive coordinator. I got a good head coach. I got good players. I'm just injured, you know, and so for you guys, you know, it's more like strategy, you know, and actually getting better leadership there and turning the culture around in Jacksonville. So I feel like your team needs a clean house. I don't need to clean house. I already have a pretty good team. It's just that we're injured. And once you end up losing 2 Hall of Fame wide receivers, it's going to be tough to be able to maintain, you know, the consistency. We're not going to be able to score as many points. That's going to affect the defense. And if we don't have Vita Vea, Levante David, or Antoine Winfield Jr. out there every game together, that obviously is going to be potential losses for us too. So. First down and 10, 3-0 Niners. Yeah, Brian Thomas Jr. is a stud. Dak, little play action fake, screen pass. Fur, get thrown down. Campbell with the tackle. Nice tackle there. Little shotgun set, little dump down. First down, Cowboys. Dalvin Cook in the building. First down and 10. Dak, hands off. Short gain there. All right. Take care. Shotgun set. 3 wide. Dak towards the sideline. Nice catch by CeeDee Lamb. Short of the first down marker. 3rd down and 1. All right, I'll get you some Jonathan Taylor. Kind of nice when you know, even if some of us are struggling in fantasy, it's kind of nice to be able to play, our star players, even if we end up losing. But it's just nice to actually be able to use the players instead of having them all on the bench and you can't even use them. So obviously the people that have like Tyreek and Waddle and a lot of the players on Sarah's roster that she hasn't really been able to use, unfortunately, just due to poor play or quarterbacks getting hurt and those other players not having value because they can't get the ball. Now it looks like, as we get further on into the season, hopefully you'll be able to use more of those pieces. Turpin intercepted. Woo, baby. Oh, my. Oh, my. Dak. Dak going for the moon and the stars. Double coverage. What are you thinking, my guy? What a pick. Brown with the pick. That was nice. Well, really what the one thing that's saving the Cowboys in the last few years, was, offensive line, a decent running game, right? And good defense and sometimes elite defense. But now if your offensive line stinks and your running game stinks and even your defense stinks, then how are you going to be able to keep up with the other teams in the NFL? It just can't be Dak and CeeDee Lamb, and then occasionally Micah Parsons if he's healthy or DeMarcus Lawrence. It's just not going to cut it. So, and the Cowboys have been getting exposed. See if I can squeeze in another one here for you.
Don't take Breztri more than prescribed. Breztri may increase your risk of thrush, pneumonia, and osteoporosis. Call your doctor if worsened breathing.
3-0 Niners.
Urinating, vision changes, or eye pain occur.
Ask your doctor about Breztri.
The future of cool, comfortable sleep is here. Introducing the new Sleep Ever Climate Cool Smart Bed.
Now I need Jordan Mason to get the fucking football and get in the damn end zone.
Sleep up to 15 degrees cooler on each side. It actively cools by drawing warm air away from your body. Cool and comfortable throughout the night.
Yeah, Lawrence had a good fantasy number, but even, you being a Jags fan, he hasn't lived up to being the number one pick. Again, he's been like a top 16 quarterback in the NFL. He's never really been a top 10 quarterback. And if you're number one pick, the ultimate goal is for that guy to be a top 10 quarterback in this league, and he's not. He's somewhere between 11 and 16. And hopefully, with the right coaching or the right supporting cast, he'll be able to eventually get better to get to be like the number 9, number 10 quarterback or something of that nature. If not, then at some point, they may move on or he may move on, and then maybe he'll end up going to another team and we'll see, what we get there. But I mean, he's better than Blake Bortles, and from that situation that you had, even though Bortles, had a good supporting cast around him with running backs like Fournette and defense, with Calais Campbell and, you had a lot of good pieces around Blake back then. I mean, hell, you guys were a half away from making the Super Bowl against the Pats in the AFC Championship game a few years back. But since that happened, then you've ended up being the worst team in football for 2 years, then trying to get out of the hole, from that. But, Trevor isn't as consistent as he needs to be for a number one pick. I think that's fair to say. So. I still think Trevor's got talent, but, he hasn't lived up to that number one pick just yet. Jordan Mason with the short game. But maybe a coaching change, if you could get the right type of coach, coordinator, beef up that offensive line, get a few more weapons for Trevor. And it's not like they don't have any name recognition. There's guys on the team. It's just consistency. And, got to have that discipline as well. Oh, great. Jordan Mason is down and injured. That's awesome. That's my whole year in fantasy. It's just always one player or another. I never can, it's like some people can get lucky, but God, man, when it rains, it fucking pours. And this has just been a terrible fucking year in fantasy. Some people are having great years like Reflect. He's going to win the championship more than likely. And he's doing what I typically do year in and year out, just, dominating from top to bottom and not really having any weaknesses whatsoever. And it's going to be very tough for any team to be able to match up unless he, ends up having more injuries. But I just can't win, man. Nothing I do can work. And it just, definitely sucks out a little bit of the fun. But that's how it goes. Some teams are going to end up playing great. They're going to stay injury-free with their top-tier players. Others, are going to get hurt, or you're going to make mistakes in the draft like I did. I like taking risks, but I took too many. And if you end up having a bad draft and guys get hurt or they underperform, then you have no chance of making the playoffs or competing with the big boys in the room. So, yeah, you're doing good, man. Like I said, you're doing. You and Elliott are battling it out for probably that fourth spot. But I would say Reflect is the best team. Obviously Shep looks like he might end up losing this week, but he's still him and Zini, a pretty good team. Zini's bench is weak, but her starting 9 is pretty strong. So as long as those guys don't get hurt, she'll be in the playoffs. And obviously we know Shep's team typically is going to produce, and that team's up there. And then there's going to be a battle for that last spot, whether it's going to be Matt or Elliott or some other team that can catch up for that last spot. But you're doing good, man. Again, you got good players. They're scoring points. You're taking, a few risks, doing some Bronco players, but for the most part, it's working for you. With all the other talent that you have, Bo has been playing pretty well this season. So, even though you're taking some risks, with some of the Bronco receivers, running backs, and quarterbacks, overall, it's been working for you because of the rest of the running backs and wide receivers and tight ends that you have. So you're doing good, man. But I don't know. I've never had a year like this in fantasy. I've never been beat up like this. I've never had guys underperform like this. I've never had guys get injured like this. And it definitely is sucking out of the fun. I can still enjoy the NFL, but it definitely is sucking out a little bit of the fun for me, But again, I am proud of everybody in the room, and it's not always going to be your year. I finished in the top 3 every year I've ever played, so it was a matter of time for me to have bad luck, I guess, and have a bad year, but I didn't know it was going to be this bad. Especially when I'm trying, it's not like I gave up and got rid of all my players. I got over 100 moves. So I'm still trying to, do my best, but there's only so much you can pick up from the wire, and sometimes you get, rando guys that put up 20, 30 points that no one is ever going to start in fantasy. It's just, you never know who's going to have a big game. Going deep and complete. Yeah, but I've never experienced, this type of shit, and like I said, it forced me to retirement, where I don't want to do it anymore, and the chances of the same thing happening to me next year as it did this year is very unlikely, but it's like never leaving points on the bench, and no matter what I do, it's never good enough, and that's a rough thing. But again, it shows you if you don't draft well and you have injuries, right? And guys, don't play well, AR, mistake. Rashad White, mistake. Not having Sam Laporta, mistake. I had so many, guys that I thought that, Christian McCaffrey, mistake. Cooper Kupp, mistake. You can't have, your starting lineup, half of it be a mistake. And that's exactly what happened, based on guys, playing like shit, underperforming, or getting hurt. And that's out of my control. So just a damn shame. I think if all of my guys would have stayed healthy, I think I would have had a top 3 team. I mean, they projected me as number 2 in the draft, but not anymore, But it shows you if you don't get a reliable quarterback, reliable tight end, your wide receivers and running backs, are injured for the whole year, there's nothing you can do to make that up. It's just point blank, If you're going to be bad, you're going to be bad, and that's just it, I did not see the college football top 25. You want to list down the top 10? Obviously, Oregon is still number 1. I like the new uniforms, the icy whites that we're going to be playing with against Michigan in the Big House. I will be doing the stream for Michigan next Saturday, 12:30. Niners with the punt. Oh, big hit. And they're getting chippy out there.
right in the middle of it, and I'm thinking that prefer that somebody on the special teams.
But I wouldn't wish, what happened to me in fantasy this year to anybody. It's just terrible. But at least one thing is for sure, even if I ended up, instead of being in the top 3, if I end up being in the bottom 3, it's not going to be due to giving up, or not trying. I'm going to continue to try my best, because it's all about points and record at the end of the day. But Washington State, Colorado. Colorado is actually playing some pretty good ball, but again, no one wants to give them credit because they were so mouthy last year with Dion, when they ended up starting off like 3-0, 4-0 until they played Oregon and we beat the brakes off of them. And I feel that, Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter, I feel like they talk a little bit too much. They're a little bit too cocky, a little bit too arrogant like Dion. And I feel like once you end up being too arrogant and too cocky, and then you end up thinking that you're the best, and then you end up getting humbled, and then you end up being a shitty team, and then you go into this year, right? And no one cares. Like, no one cares if you're actually a good team because you kind of ruined your reputation of being too cocky and too overconfident and too arrogant. So it's like now Colorado actually is playing pretty good ball, much better than last year, but no one really gives a shit, anymore. I think that's a fair statement. So Oregon, Georgia, Penn State, Ohio State, Miami, Texas, Tennessee, Notre Dame, BYU, A&M, Clemson, Iowa State, Indiana. Good for Indiana. Alabama and Boise State. Nice. You're going to give me 16 through 25? I would like to. There we go. I was going to say throw up 16 through 25 for me. So here's our top 15. Oh, who's number 1? Oh, go Ducks. Let's take a look at 16 through 25, which is important to the college football playoff. LSU, Kansas State, Pitt, Ole Miss, SMU, Army. Navy obviously dropped out because they got blasted by Notre Dame. Washington State, Colorado, Illinois, Missouri. All right, who missed the cut? Who's close? Vandy, Memphis, Tulane, Navy, Louisville, Arkansas, UNLV, Louisiana Lafayette, and South Carolina. Three-zero Niners. Come on, Cowboys. Come on, Niners. This used to be must-see TV in the 80s and 90s. But it's kind of crazy. Like, okay, the Cowboys are the Cowboys, and people want to say that's America's team and whatnot. But again, they got, blanketed with, offensive lineman talent, defensive talent, to kind of make Dak look a little bit better than he actually really is. And for him to get all that money and that big contract, he ain't it, And again, Jerry Jones, sticking with Zeke too long, sticking with Dak, too long. Like, really the only guy that deserves the big money, on the offense is CeeDee Lamb, period. There's no one else that deserves big money on that offense. And on the defense, like Micah Parsons, DeMarcus Lawrence, those guys deserve money, but other than those three, those are really the only guys that deserve money. And if they were smart, they would have moved on from Dak and not try to make him, one of the richest quarterbacks in the NFL. And it was all fine and dandy when you had 3 Pro Bowl linemen. Actually, when you had Zeke, when he was a top 10 running back, and you had Tony Pollard, or when you ended up having a top 5 defense. But, I feel like the offensive line and the defense have gone really backwards with Dallas. They're nowhere near what they used to be, and Dak is getting fucking exposed. And even with that being said, they're still 3-3. It's not like they're 0-6 right now, but, they have no chance of competing with the Eagles or the Commandos this year. Dak is a little overrated. He does have a certain type of skill set, and he is one of the top 16 quarterbacks, but I could think of about, 10 or 12 that I would probably want over him. There's some things that Dak does really, really well, but there's also things that Dak struggles with it on top of that too. And it doesn't help that you got Jerry Jones and Mike McCarthy, shitty defense, shitty O-line, no running game. There's so many things that are kind of going against Dallas where they kind of were able to hide some of those weaknesses in years past. Now they have nothing to be able to cover up, and they're getting exploited on both sides of the ball. Dak. Nice speed by Turpin there. Fumble. But the Cowboys recover. BB with the recovery. Dak is still a top 16 quarterback. You'd probably say he's a top 12. I think it's fair to say. Most of the time when I see him, he's like 10th, 11th, 12th, somewhere in there. Kind of like with Kirk Cousins and Carr, except he's just a bigger name because he's on the Cowboys. But if Dak Prescott was like on the Browns or the Jags or, on another team, would we really be talking about Dak as much as we do because he's on the Cowboys? No, we wouldn't. He would just be another guy, But obviously, when you're on America's team with the star and they have so much exposure, those people get magnified under the microscope a little bit more. I mean, he's still going to be able to throw for yards and get you touchdowns, at the end of the day, but it's not going to help you necessarily win a bunch of games. It's like you can't really rely on him to win you a game. If anything, he's probably more likely to fuck it up and lose the game for you. But it's not like he's throwing for 3, 4, 5 touchdown passes, Up to week 5, he was throwing for either 1 or 2. But the last 2 weeks, week 6, and obviously so far here, not looking too hot. But also, you got to think, when Dak is good, you got to have a good offensive line. That gives him more time. You have to have a good running game. And they don't have a good offensive line anymore, and they don't have a good running game at all. It doesn't matter if it's fucking, Ezekiel Elliott. It doesn't matter if it's Dowdle. It doesn't matter if it's Dalvin Cook. Or even when they had Tony Pollard, they didn't even use him properly, last year. So, it's like you got to be able to have the O-line and the running game help him. And if it doesn't, then this is what you get. So, end of the first quarter, 3-0 Niners. Yeah, but this year, based on fantasy numbers, I believe he's like 20th or 21st, so not very good. But we'll see, how it plays out the rest of this game and the rest of the season. But I wouldn't want Dak Prescott on my team. I don't think he's terrible, but I think he's probably one of the most overrated quarterbacks in the NFL for sure. Definitely not worth the money. But even though my fantasy is in the shitter, my NFL team is in the shitter, my NBA team is in the shitter, NHL team doesn't look that hot right now either. At least I got one team out of the 5 that, at least is good. So at least I got that going. But hopefully the Blazers will get better. Hopefully the Kraken can start winning some games. The Bucs are not going to do anything, so I don't have to worry about that. And obviously the Mariners, until we end up getting rid of Stanton and DePoto, we're going to end up being very, very close, but not close enough. Little short game. But at least I got 1 out of 5 that's good. That's better than none. Both defenses playing a little bit better than expected in this game, considering it's only 3-0 at this point. Dak, little bootleg. There's CD. First down, Cowboys. Move the chains. Six more likes to get to 20. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. There we go. 5 more to 20. Appreciate you. And so we're going to do tomorrow, we're going to end up doing the Steelers and the Giants. And then on Tuesday and Wednesday, I am going to do the World Series. So I kind of figured after doing game 1, I didn't really know if we were going to have enough people for me to do it, but the numbers were somewhat decent. Not what I wanted, but at the end, after all the numbers got registered, it ended up being like 600-700 views. So even though at some points in the stream we only had a few people in there, but I don't think there's going to be anything better than the World Series on Tuesday and Wednesday. So we're going to end up doing that. So Monday Night Football, we'll have the World Series on in the background, and I'll cover both. Tuesday and Wednesday, we'll do World Series, and then Thursday, we'll do Thursday Night Football. Shotgun set. Pressure on the edge. Uh-oh, it's 12 noon. You know what time it is. A Nick Bosa sack lunch. Yum, 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 yum. Nice job. Bosa, baby. Yeah, Jalen looked great. Again, it's such a difference when you guys have Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown out there. Now it'll be between you and the Commandos, and both of you guys should make the playoffs this year. One will win the division, the other will get a wild card, and both are going to be dangerous. I can't wait to see you guys continue to get better as the season goes along, considering my season's already over. And then Thursday night is Texans and the Jets. Third down. $99 to go. $82 subs to go to 20,700. Nice job by Ferg. Obviously, being National Tight Ends Day, you would assume that they're going to do everything in their power, to get Ferg in the end zone, as well as Kittle if he's playing. A little play action fake. Floater. Ferguson incomplete. And there's a flag on the play. Touchdown, Cowboys. Ezekiel Elliott right up the gut. Extra point is up and good. 7-3 Cowboys. Well, it's not that hard to be able to build a staff when you know everybody. You know, you can bring in Warren Sapp to help out the D-line. I mean, he's got all the connections in the world. If anything, it would be a failure for him not to have a good coaching staff with all the connections that he has. I mean, he's got more connections than anybody. You know, it would be almost impossible not to have a good staff if you're fucking Deion Sanders with all his Florida State connects, all his Dallas Cowboy, Niner connects, Falcons connects, college football connects, and everything that he, has with Colorado and his sons and everything else. But again, I don't think anyone really gives a shit, though. Especially if you come off, the way that they did last year. I don't think really anybody cares. And Travis Hunter, I feel like people like him, but I feel like Shedeur Sanders, people don't really like him that much. He'll be a project, obviously, if he goes to the next level. But, he's kind of like his dad. Some people are going to like him, some people aren't. But I think Travis Hunter is very likable, and he seems like he'll be a good fit on any team in the NFL, but not so much for Shedeur Sanders, though. 7-3 Cowboys.
Members pay $19.99 per box. Prestone 50/50 1-gallon antifreeze and coolant is hot priced at $7.99. Plus, get prepared for Halloween. Pick up select Mars or Ferrera mixed bag Halloween candy, now just $24.99. Members save more with our latest savings book at Buy Mart.
My dad started Dick's Auto Group in Hillsboro in 1985. We still run on the same simple value: customers first, no exceptions. And with 4 local dealerships, you're getting the widest selection of the most popular brands, from Dick's Canby Ford, Dick's Hillsboro Honda, Dick's Hillsboro Hyundai, and Dick's Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram.
All right, let me check. I've been watching football all day, so.
Why do so many Oregonians drive more to state? Escape is for what matters, what moves you. Escape for the weekend. Escape with friends.
Oh my God, the Blazers actually won a game. 125 to 103 over the Hawks. It's a miracle.
We've never seen one like this week. Brandon Aubrey's not injury related. Jury duty. He missed practice for jury duty. So on Tuesday, he was selected for a 12-person jury in a felony case in Tarrant County District Court. That's in downtown Fort Worth.
Cole in the building. What's good? Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 20 within the first hour and a half. Chief in the building. What's good, brother? Thank you so much. We're only a couple likes away from 20, so if we can get Cole and Chief to get there, we'll be in business. Thank you so much for your support. Stacks on stacks, racks on racks, a little cactus jack, bang, bang. Thank you so much. Let me know what you want to do for photos, my guy. Thank you for the support. Congrats on the win against the Raiders. We're at 11, 89 to go. Thank you so much. I think we only need a couple more at this point. Where are we at now? We are at 16. We need 4 more to go to get to 20. Let's get there, baby. 3 more to go to get to 20. Thank you. Appreciate you guys. It's not going to be as good as your Chiefs. I mean, my season's over. No Mike Evans, no Chris Godwin. We're not going to the playoffs. Every time we wear the creamsicles, we lose. The Falcons beat us. I'm not surprised. Wide open. Debo doing Debo things, but there's a flag on the play. Touchdown, Niners, but that's coming back more than likely. Offensive holding. Wow-wee. That's a hold. I'll get you a D-Hop photo. Got you. Yeah, he's back, but then he got hurt like on the first play, even though there's no injury designation. He has 1.4 points. So, of course, you know, anything I try to do to be able to, you know, compete is a no-go, you know. I needed 25 out of Mason, 15 out of Aubrey, and probably 25 or 30 out of Russell Wilson versus the Giants tomorrow just to have a chance against Elliott. And, you know, it didn't help that Amari Cooper shit the bed and gave me 1 fucking point. But, you know, that's the story of my life. You know, when things are going good, they're going great. When they're going terrible, they continue to be terrible for me. And I don't even know if he's out there anymore. Jordan Mason. But I already knew, you know, we were going to lose to the Falcons. You know, again, Kirk is going to have big games like he did, obviously, when they didn't call the face mask on Bucky Irving and we got ripped off on the first, you know, loss in overtime. But, you know, again, when you don't got Mike Evans and you don't got Chris Godwin, you're not going to win games, period. Or it's like the Eagles. When Jalen doesn't have Goddard or if he doesn't have AJ or Devontae Smith, chances are they lose. Regardless if they have Saquon and Jalen, sometimes it's not good enough to win. You know, you got to have your wide receivers, especially if they're good. You know, I got 2 Hall of Fame receivers. You don't have them. You know, what do I expect? Like Jalen McMillan and, you know, Sterling Shepard are going to step up and all of a sudden I'm going to win games? Fuck no. So at least I've come to terms, you know, with that. So, yeah, Reflect's team is the best. You know, I would be shocked if he doesn't win the championship again. You know, top to bottom, he scores touchdowns on every player every week, sometimes multiple touchdowns out of guys. And obviously you got a few people that are close, like Zini and Matt, as well as Shep. But again, close and being on that level, you know, again, you might be able to have a couple good weeks, but it's like, you know, Reflect, it seems like he's putting up 130, 140, 160, 180. You know, it's like every week is like, you know, he never really has players shit the bed that often. And if he does have a player shit the bed, he usually has a player that has a monster number in the lineup to make up for it. And, you know, you got to give credit where credit's due, you know. And he's had a few injuries, you know, he lost Rashee Rice. But other than that, Nico Collins is on IR, but he'll get him back. But, you know, he drafted the best out of anybody, and it shows. You have a good draft, you work the wire, you're intelligent, you're smart, you're going to end up being the top dog, you know, and that's what he is. So, like Zini's team, you know, is close with points, but her bench isn't very good. Like, if you look at her bench, it's very weak, you know, and if she has any injuries to the starting 9, she's fucked. And, you know, Shep's team is pretty good. Just wasn't his week this week, you know. And again, you know, Matt's been doing pretty good as well. And again, you're going to see others like Chief will Chief have a good week and a bad week, you know. And then there'll be the 3 or 4 of us at the bottom where no matter what we do, we're not good enough to compete with everyone else in the league. It's like no matter what lineup we put together, it's not going to be good enough, and that's just the sad reality. Come on, Jordan Mason. I need fucking touchdowns, you bum.
It's really interesting. There's a good game going on between the safeties of the Dallas Cowboys. Watch, he's trying to convince him he's going to come up there so that he will, in fact, check the pass. But then drops back out, and they will come up.
I mean, at this point, we might as well just lose every game the rest of the season and just try to get a draft pick. You know, there's, you know, we have, and even if somehow, some way we were able to, you know, compete with the Falcons and get close, you know, to making the playoffs, we would get absolutely obliterated, you know, in the first round like the Eagles did against the Bucs. And I wouldn't want to see that. I would rather, you know, have us just, you know, be a bad team and then, you know, go into next year. And hopefully that's not the last time that we see Chris Godwin in a Buck uniform. So. But I'll get you a D-Hop photo here in a little bit, Chief. Finley's like, I'm ready for draft day. I am too. My team stinks without having our key guys. You know, it's like, well, it's one thing or another, just like in my fantasy. You know, it's like one guy gets hurt, like Antoine Winfield Jr., and, you know, I'm just praying that, you know, these guys get healthy. And then as soon as those guys get healthy, then I get another big injury with another superstar. And, you know, you have too many superstars that get hurt, you're fucked. There's nothing that you can do, you know. No amount of praying, you know, or guys that you end up trading for are going to make the difference, you know. If you're fucked, you're fucked, and that's just how it goes.
A little bit. I'm just telling you, I think the Cowboys have earned it enough. We're going to go out and beat up the Dallas Cowboys. We're the more physical team. And maybe just a little statement that next drive really turned this ball game.
Play at the Cowboys, and it's a little physical. Right?
4th down and 3. Dallas with the blitz. And Debo with the drop. Unbelievable. This is a very sloppy game. You know, this should have been a game that the Niners like blow out the Cowboys, but it shows you with the injuries, you know, McCaffrey and Ayuk being gone, Juwan Jennings being out, you know, Debo not 100%, you know, and as well as injuries on the defense. You know, this is a very lackluster performance for these two teams.
Hey, do you guys ever wonder where these positions are?
No.
I think that there's something else going on.
What?
Maybe get people to crave cheese and pizza during football games.
Do I look like a fool to you? I think I'd know if I was being used to sell cheesy pizza.
What am I saying? It's not like wearing triangle-shaped cheese on our heads makes us walking billboards for
Cheesy pizza! Buy one, get one from Little Caesars. Only on Uber Eats.
You look like the type that hits a lot of curves. So I'm thinking these premium tires. I'd do it.
Don't put up with BS. Admire
Yeah, they don't got any good photos with him in the Chief uniform just yet. You know, a lot of the photos they don't convert, or they're too small or blurry, unfortunately. But if you got another Chief player, I mean, I can always do something like this, you know, where he'll be in his, you know, another uniform, but. Yeah, even the ones that they took today against the Raiders aren't converting, unfortunately.
Oh, really? And what are you eating, Jerry?
rice. Game day games only on Uber Eats. The other end of the section, fantastic finish in NASCAR today. We have 8 drivers left. Last chance to make the championship 4 is next Sunday. NASCAR playoffs continue in Martinsville on NBC. Tyler Reddick with a front on that final lap at Homestead to put the team on by Michael Jordan for the championship 4. One more spot will be decided next Sunday in Martinsville on NBC. For the whole, the Cowboys take off 40 flag with the movement up front to begin this drive.
All right, Paisley just came in, so I had to snuggle her here real quick. All right, I'll get you some Chris Jones once we go to another commercial break. We're at 11:89 to go. Yeah, it's just crazy, how Mahomes used to be a good fantasy quarterback, and he's still a capable quarterback, but just doesn't have the same, type of it factor that he did a few years back. And, I would say starting last year, it was almost a risk to play him, and then obviously this year, most people don't even have him rostered, unless you like scoring 13 points a game and then, getting one touchdown a game and maybe a pick or two a game, but that doesn't cut it in fantasy. Even if you have a superstar team, and your quarterback is weak, you still wouldn't probably have Mahomes in, unfortunately. Just doesn't have the same type of consistency as he did early in his career. Now, if he ended up having Rashee Rice, I think that things would have been better. His numbers would have, gotten a little bit better. Still probably a bench guy on fantasy, but, instead of not being rostered at all. But I don't think that it would have been something where you've been able to comfortably start him. Little play action. Ferg running over guys. Ferg with the power. Oh, good. Jordan Mason, 1.8. Oh, that's good. Aubrey, 1. That's good. That'll definitely help me keep up and catch up to Elliott. Both of these teams are underperforming, like, by a lot. 3rd down and 4. Dak got all the time in the world. Going deep. Tolbert with the catch, but a flag on the play. Yeah, and fantasy numbers, the Chief defense, they just don't get enough sacks and picks, like they have done in previous years. It's like they're out there, but almost playing the Raiders was like a trap game. Like, if the defense, doesn't make enough plays, you can't really count on Mahomes on winning the game for you. It's like almost you got to hope that Kareem Hunt can be like Pacheco and score once or twice. That'll give you your touchdowns. You might get a receiving touchdown to like Kelsey or one other player, and that's it. And then you just got to pray that the defense holds them to, as little as possible yardage and, mostly field goals. But again, you're undefeated, and even though fantasy purposes, Chief defense and Mahomes may not be, pieces that, people have that often, you're still one of the best teams in the NFL, but definitely there's some holes this year, and it's definitely hard to be able to go back-to-back or back-to-back-to-back in any sport. But if you got Andy Reid, Mahomes, and Kelsey with Chris Jones, anything's possible. Little play action. Dak in the end zone. Broken up there at the end. Had it, and lost it. Incomplete. Span forward. Mustafa, great awareness there. Well, there's a field goal for me. Yeah. I just wish that the Chief defense would give like more on the sacks and the picks and the and defensive touchdowns. It's like if you look at their stat line, they just don't really do as much as you would think they would do if they have a top 5 defense. And, for fantasy purposes, they're kind of in the middle, Aubrey missed all week to jury duty. 10-3 Cowboys. Unfortunately, I'm still down by $1 billion, so it's not going to matter. It doesn't help when you got guys that are supposed to score points and they end up putting up a 1.3, or you're supposed to get 16 out of Mason and he's got 1.8, But it definitely makes you, understand on, players that are consistent and players that aren't, There's too many shitty players, too many guys that are too inconsistent. So, all I can do is do my best with what I have to work with, but yeah, fantasy stats and actual stats are a little different, but see if I can get you a little Chris Jones action here.
Football has gone international, and the world's most fun and lively city should be next. Dublin, Ireland. Do you think I sound excited about a game in Dublin? Wait till you hear from the locals. The games are over 3 hours long.
Is there something wrong in America?
The sheer excitement on the Dubliners' faces. Let's toast this monumental idea from me, Ryan Fitzpatrick, and Jameson. 2 Irish legends with absolutely zero sway to make this happen. Sluggish.
It's kind of scary to think if you didn't have Chris Jones, like where the defense would be. Single-handedly, he's holding it down for your guys' team. Not very many D-tackle, nose tackles that are better than him. Stud right there, one of my favorite players in the NFL. Great player. Love his intensity, and his greatness rubs off on the rest of the players, even though they're not on his level, but they try to be, to the best of their ability. So, but Hunt is definitely saving your season with Pacheco going down. He's definitely reliable of scoring once or twice every game. And they're going to give him those opportunities, obviously, because Pat is a little bit of a liability of throwing the football. So if you don't have to throw it as much and you can give a guy 20 to 30 carries every game, knowing he'll get in the end zone once or twice, it kind of plays into the strategy. You don't have to worry about Pat throwing bad pick sixes or interceptions. You hand the ball off a lot. You go to a lot of dinks and doinks and checkdowns. Hope that Chris Jones and the defense, plays well. And then, you might end up winning a lot of games by 3-7. But at the end of the day, if you're winning, that's all that fucking matters. You might not be blowing out teams by 20 or 30, and that's fine. Even if you're only winning by 1, 2, or 3, a win is a win. And I know Chief will agree. Yeah, it makes you kind of wonder if L'Jarius Sneed would have never left and not taken the bag and stayed. How much better the defense would have looked this year with McDuffie and Sneed together. But it is a business and people want to get paid, right? Even if they go to a shitty team like the Titans. Oh, look, a running back for the Niners that got a big gain. Oh, but it's not Jordan Mason. Of course it isn't. Ridiculous. Yeah. And then if you have Pacheco and Hunt together, hell, you could put them in the game at the same time. Run like I formation, or you can end up having one of them like in the slot, for certain plays like Pacheco. Like it could end up being a pretty deadly backfield there with a nice 1-2 punch, kind of like Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. Little Sonic and Knuckles, little Thunder and Lightning. Both are capable of scoring touchdowns. Oh, look who it is. Oh, is that Jordan Mason? Oh, of course it isn't. Oh, dog, you need points? Fuck you. Oh, I guess that's how it goes, huh? Thanks a lot, Niners, you bastards. $82 subs to get to 20,700. We're about a couple likes away from 20. Where are we at? What are we, 3 likes away from 20? Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 20. That way we can hit the algorithm hopefully before halftime or right a little bit after halftime. Yeah. And you have no expectations for him. You know, he's going through like mental health stuff, you know, but you know, sometimes it works out with certain guys and other times it just doesn't, you know. Not every LSU player ends up panning out. Now, if you're a LSU wide receiver, yeah, it'll pan out. But if you end up playing running back or linebacker like CEH or Devin White, it might not work out, unfortunately. But if you're a receiver, you best believe it doesn't matter what year you come out, you'll pan out. But if you're not a receiver and you're from LSU, tread softly. So, yeah, and that could end up being the difference between you winning the AFC Championship game or not, you know, or getting to the Super Bowl and winning it or not with those two guys. So, even if Mahomes isn't playing well, you know, again, you guys have been able to prove that you can win, right, Super Bowls different ways. Explosive offense with Tyreek, then Tyreek left and said, oh, you guys can't win without him, but then you did. And then you ended up winning, you know, with defensively, you know, with Chris Jones and the defense kind of carrying the load. So you guys have kind of proven that you can win with the big name players like Tyreek and Kelsey, you know, and then Bieniemy left, right? And then you ended up losing some guys as well, like Hardman and Juju. Still were able to win. And then I ended up finding, you know, the defensive studs to kind of step up, like L'Jarius Sneed and Chris Jones and McDuff, and you were able to win that way. So every Super Bowl, you know, and every run each year has been a little bit different. And if you didn't have Andy Reid and Spags, you know, this would have never happened. So I feel like if you actually are being honest and evaluating a team and their coaching, by far the Chiefs are above and beyond everyone else, you know, because you got to understand most teams can't win a different way. They win one way, and that's the only way they can win. And they've been able to kind of, you know, give themselves a rebirth, you know, and, you know, obviously find new ways. Oh, Jordan Mason going to the locker room. Great, bastard. You know, but they've been able to reinvent themselves year in and year out. And again, if you don't got Andy Reid and Spags in the building, that never happens. So you got to really give a shout out to the coaching staff to be able to give the belief that they can actually win 3 different ways, and they've proven it. And, you know, Tampa Bay Buccaneers were really the only team to be able to beat them in a Super Bowl because of our defense. First down, Niners. Flag on the play. Guerrero. Of course it's Guerrero. Purdy. Oh, Debo with another drop. Debo.
That block right there. There was a lot of room to run. There was just a lot of room. That's how you beat the blitz. You send everybody here. All right, we're going to throw it out there.
Kendrick's Dallas across the line for Brock Purdy.
Second down and 20. Purdy.
The park him out at the 36-yard line. Third and 15.
Well, we know what they're going to do now. Shotgun, blitz, get it out quickly. And third and whatever it is, 15, 16 yards, that's fine. Because basically what you're forcing them to do is throw the ball hot. What you can't have is somebody like Deebo Samuel open the pitch and make the with a coverage guy, miss the tackle, and come up for the touchdown. Somebody else here. 7 Cowboys.
Purdy. There's Kittle. 4th down and 5. And normally, again, they're going to try to do everything in their power in the second half to get Kittle in the end zone, as well as Ferg, for the Cowboys. But I don't think anybody anticipated a fucking 10-6 game. Field goal is up and good. Field goal up and good. 10-6 Cowboys. Yeah, you just can't get worked up, based on one conversation, you know what I mean? Like, there's so many people that are out there, you know what I mean? You can't just hang on to one individual that hopped in one time that will probably never come back, Yeah, you can throw my Bucs in there too for sucking ass as well. I mean, we started off like we were going to win the NFC South again, but Mike Evans and Godwin, we're going to be terrible the rest of the year. So, in all honesty, I would just rather lose every game the rest of the year and try to get a better draft pick. So, yeah, but you're still hung up on it. You know what I mean? Like, you don't even know what she looks like. You've never even talked to her. Like, all it was is just a random person coming in that, likes Taylor Swift, and that's it. You got to be able to have more than that. Can't get all sprung on, on an individual when you've never even talked to them, never seen what they look like. All they've done is type a couple words into a chat and then disappear, There's going to be plenty of people in Hawaii, that are out there. There you go. Put the Bucs in there, Toby. Yeah, and plus you're young too, man. Like, once you start, getting older, once you hit 25 and then you hit 30, and then once you end up getting to like 40, you just start to realize that overall people suck. There's a lot of people that are just not good people. There's a lot of liars. There's a lot of people that are untrustworthy, and then you just get, your feelings hurt and you get caught up, where you get these people that just don't give a shit about anything besides themselves. And, you start to realize, having, a dog or a cat sometimes is better than, having a boyfriend or a girlfriend, because, a lot of times that shit don't last. So it's better to be alone and a little lonely and happy than to be with someone and feel miserable.
The NFC, Washington and Philly winning, it's playing better. Dallas doesn't win, they're 2 back of the leaders in the loss column of the NFC. Over in the West, they're separated by games, just tightening about halfway through.
Yeah, just looking at that, you go, a fair day for the Cowboys, right? San Francisco typically puts it together later in the year, but this is a big event for right here.
Shotgun set. Dak. Tolbert. Short game. Shotgun set. Dak. Over Ferg's head. Incomplete. Shotgun set. Dak. Blasted. Incomplete.
This is when it gets really hard. When Bosa comes around the backside and then the underneath rusher can step right into the step up by the quarterback. Nice job there by Sam Okuwanu to finish that off. But that is because Bosa creates that pressure that others get opportunities.
And now the clock reset to a minute 1. Ingram will kick it away. The Cowboys.
All right, Cowboys with the punt. These are two storied franchises, that have been, two of the most popular, for years and years and years. But gosh, this game is almost like the fucking Bengals, Giants game that we watched a couple weeks ago. Kind of lacking a little bit of star power, and not only that, we're not really getting a very good performance here on Sunday night with these two teams. And I get it with the Niners because they're injured and they're beat up and they don't have a whole lot available. What's Dallas's excuse? Looks like he did get him there with the leg. Kicked him right in the knee. And he still caught it.
So they changed the calculus. It's still San Francisco. 3 timeouts, 54 seconds left. They're on 17.
Purdy. He says, I'm going to tuck it and run. Go, baby, go. There we go. Haven't seen Purdy do too much of that. First down, Niners. Feels like I haven't been able to say first down for any team almost in this whole first half. Very underwhelming 10-6 first half between these two teams. Yeah, but you got to be happy with yourself before, trying to make someone else happy. And nobody wants to be lonely, especially if you're single or you want to have someone in your life and whatnot. But this younger generation and this culture nowadays, you like someone, they like you, and then you have a little minor argument, and then one person just moves on and acts like you don't even exist. And that's the sad kind of reality where people don't talk about their problems. In this social media era, people just keep swiping and, swipe left, swipe right, go through their social media, and then they move on to someone else and act like you never existed, and unfortunately that's kind of how it is. It's the loyalty that people had from like our parents and our grandparents. That shit don't exist anymore. And if it does, it's very rare. It's like we're talking about like 5%, of people, that are kind of like our parents or grandparents that actually want to work things out instead of having an argument and just being like, well, fuck it, and then just going on to someone else, even if the grass isn't greener on the other side. That's the sad reality. That's why a lot of people, once they hit 30, 35, 40, and this like generation now, people don't even want to date or get married or, even have someone in their life. I don't blame them. There we go. There we go, George. First down, Niners. Move the chains. There's some good people that are still out there, but again, it's kind of far and few between. Lots of people still love to play games and just, act like they're into you when they're not, People love throwing the word "I love you," so often now too, But you can't do it based off words. It has to be based off actions. Anyone could say "I love you, I love you, I love you," but don't mean that they love you. They can just tell you what you want to hear and whatnot. That's reality. But there are some good people out there. First down and 10. Shotgun set. Pressure off the edge. Purdy steps up. Little check down. Incomplete. Yeah, but we don't talk about religion and politics and that kind of stuff here, Toby, on this channel.
One of the tight ends has a big night tonight, Chris. We got something for him.
We completely blew budget, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
That means I have no potato chips in Phoenix for the rest of the month. I know how that goes.
We got the exclusive world premiere of the National Tight End Game penalty. One of these guys can step up. Second and 10.
Shotgun set. Purdy. Pump fake. Oh, he lost the football. And luckily the Niners recover. Yeah, Tinder's only good for hookups. That's it. You ain't going to find anything worthwhile there. I mean, if you want to find someone to go out and hook up or whatever, then that's what that is good to be good for. But other than that, more than likely you're not going to find anything worthwhile. But I guess, they have apps for everything. Yeah, and I imagine any of those websites, could lead to a marriage or a good relationship. But, for the most part, those are very hit or miss because people lie on those. They don't tell you, all of, what is, what you're really about. They don't use, normally current photos, and they, make up a fake profile with a bunch of bullshit in it. Pass incomplete. Out of the field goal range now. Should be approaching halftime here. Niners with the punt.
Michigan wide receiver.
All right, we're at halftime, 10-6. This might be one of the worst first halves between the Cowboys and Niners I've ever seen, but hopefully it'll get a little bit better. You know what's not going to get better? My fantasy team. Oh, Jordan Mason, 1.8. Thanks, Guy. Appreciate you getting hurt again. Awesome. Shoulder, questionable. You fucking bum.
We can't kill ourselves. We've got three big holding calls that have brought about 80 yards in offense back and the touchdown. We can't make those mistakes. We missed a big third down. Denver's all out blitz, just missed that throw. And hopefully, I'm glad we're getting the ball in here in the third quarter. We're going to come out and get a score.
And you're starting running back Jordan Mason have questionable shoulder injury. How does that affect the game plan?
It's next man up. We'll see if he comes out. We'll see how he is here.
Thanks, Kyle.
It's been the story of their season. Next man up. A lot of injuries on the offensive side. Time to get the ball. They trail by 4. Here's Maria. Maria.
Thanks, Mike. We're still catching our breath after what happened in Washington. So coming up, we're going to break down everything that went into Commanders' crazy win, including some questionable decisions by the Bears and the Hail Mary stuff. It's all coming up on the Toyota Halftime.
Want more stats? Just ask Siri. Who leads the league in receiving touchdowns?
Let's go.
Check out Mahomes' top 3 plays of the bench. He scrambles in the T-Mobile to get that new iPhone 16 Pro on us. It's a little shimmy, shake. What you think, huh? It's like you take my ice cream truck. I was scrambling. You got an iPhone 16 Pro, the first iPhone built for Apple Intelligence. I was holding it up like a back in the run. Only takes those T-Mobile savings and calls it a day. Respect. Now at T-Mobile.com, get the new iPhone 16 Pro on us. And families can save 20% every month versus other big guys.
You look like the type that hits a lot of curves. So I'm thinking these premium tires.
Don't put up with BS. At Midas, we don't upsell. Instead, we make sure you actually need new tires. Then provide a range of options based on your vehicle and your budget. We run to Midas, where you can buy 3 tires and get 1 free for a limited time.
When the game heats up and fans lean in, it's your command at the heart of the action. This year, tens of thousands of live sports events will stream, reaching 113 million connected TV households nationwide. That's billions of chances to reach your audience before time runs out. Find your fans when they're most engaged at every major sporting league streaming network, live, in real time, all in one place. Sports are unpredictable. Reaching fans doesn't have to be, because engagement matters. The Trade Desk.
There's nowhere to run.
Applebee's wickedly delicious recently has risen.
Looking good face to face. Take a seat if you dare.
You are an assassin, the queen of the dead.
Welcome to the Toyota Halftime. Let's go places. Watch me.
He's on the ball. The Jets control the game away. And plus, the Jets touchdown on a quick slant here.
There's like a replay too of one of the Chicago Bear, defensive players talking shit to the crowd and then not paying attention, and then he's the one that actually tipped it into Noah Brown's hands. Sports karma is real. If you're going to be that way, the sports gods will find a way to make you pay, especially if you're not paying attention and you're just yapping and talking shit to the crowd, right? Thinking that the Bears won the game, and you come in there late, and tip it up into the air right into Noah Brown's hands. That's what happens. Man, Maria Taylor is a giant. She should be like WNBA.
Yeah, that play is important. In New England, we call that cheap five, and Bill Belichick will say, "No cheap five," and the corners will move up.
I mean, even with heels or whatever, man, she is tall.
It comes down to the last play of the game sometimes. NFL game happens. One play decides the game, and you watch this. You have
89 to go, and hopefully we get a little bit more, but congratulations to all the people that already won in fantasy. And then for a lot of us, it's already over. It's like you either get over, 120 points, or you get under 100. That's just really how it goes, because good fantasy numbers are going to be like 130 to 200. That's when you know you had a good week. If you get to 100, it's not necessarily like a good week, 100, 110, 120, like 130 usually and up is like a good week, but it kind of depends from week to week. Like you look at reflex numbers, like 160. That's a good week. But unfortunately, half of us have a hard time even getting to 90 fucking points or 100. That's when you know how things are going in fantasy for some of us. So. I wish I knew what it felt like to score 160. Hell, I'll even take a fucking 130. Can't even get that. And I swear this is probably like the third or fourth or fifth week in a row that I've had a player get hurt during the game. That's like, can I at least like have my guys finish the game? Like even if they don't score points, like it's ridiculous, man. I'm sick and tired of having like the all injured team in fantasy. It's just stupid. Definitely taking the fun out of it.
This is what I see Bruce doing in the meeting tomorrow. Take accountability for the play before the last play. Guys, we should have had guys up there. He'll take accountability for, even though they've practiced thing 100 times, maybe we didn't coach it well enough. But the big thing, he will not take accountability.
Can't win when guys get hurt during the game. It's like you almost have like 100% chance to lose unless you have a team like Reflect where you have enough to make up for it. But if you don't got a team like Reflect and you got an injury during the game, you are done. Like 99% of the time. Unless you're lucky like Matt, where Diggs went down with an injury but only had 12.7 before he got hurt. So, and you also have 4 guys get 20. I don't know what that's like either. 20 points for a spot in fantasy. Like, I don't even know what that's like. I used to get that 20, 30 points out of one spot, 20, 30 points out of another. It's like, it's hard enough to even get to fucking 10, let alone 20 or 30. But at least we're halfway through the season, so. But again, it's like you only have like 3 or 4 teams that are having fun and the other 6 aren't. So I've never really seen that in fantasy either, but that's where we're at this year. But Matt, if you make the playoffs, you'll have a shot. You Zini, Shep, and Reflect. I would assume that you guys will be the 4, unless you end up going on a bad losing streak or if Elliott takes your spot or something. But I would assume that you guys will be the 4 that will more than likely make it based off your rosters, but you never know. Yeah, Jets are. And their defense isn't as good as they traditionally have been in past years. So it's like, yeah, you got Aaron Rodgers this year, right? But he's not really playing well, and Breece Hall and, all the receivers, it's like, if you look at the roster on paper, it looks kind of good, but again, if your defense isn't as good, if they're not top 5 or top 10 to bail out Rodgers, like they were able to bail out Zach Wilson and the other quarterbacks like Mike White, it's everything is worse for that team. Defense isn't very good like it was, and you can't really count on Rodgers either.
How much would 118 increase your family's costs? 118 would tax sales of electricity, insurance, road, and cars, bills of gasoline, and phone, internet, and TV services. 118 would even tax sales of medicine, healthcare, and food products. To stop this costly tax on sales,
Paisley's in here just laying.
118.
Love you.
My husband was patrol officer Chase Lee Maddox. To this day, the first and only officer killed him with a spiritual check. My husband always said that the good outweighs the bad, and Folds of Honor Scholarship is a very accurate representation of that. It just shows that their sacrifice isn't forgotten.
We got Giants and Steelers tomorrow. I mean, what are the chances that the Giants and Steelers game is better than this one? Probably will be, actually. I think it will. Even though the Giants are fucking ass and they're terrible. If Neighbors can get going and Thibodeau can get out there, you might get, you assume the Steelers are going to win, right? And they'll probably win big, but they'll put up more excitement than we're getting from the Cowboys and Niners. And then we get World Series game number 3 in New York on Monday. And then we'll, keep up with that. And then on Tuesday and Wednesday, they'll still be in New York. And that 2-3-2 format is kind of unfair, especially if you end up splitting in the first game and then you have 3 games at home. Like you can end up winning the World Series in 5 if you're not like the number 1 seed, but you have to split within the first 2 games and then win all your games at home. But looks like Shohei Ohtani will be playing tomorrow, even after that little injury that he had sliding in his second. So
this broadcast is copyrighted by NFL Productions for the private use of our audience. Any use of this broadcast, any pictures, descriptions, or accounts contained without the consent of NFL Productions is prohibited.
And I feel like Sunday night, Monday night, and Thursday night have been really hit or miss this year. Some games have been, wow, like amazing, but we've had a lot of underwhelming games. And normally we're used to like Thursday night being shitty and then like Sunday, Monday night being great. But lately it kind of feels like all 3 of them at times are shitty. Thursday, Sunday, or Monday, depending on the teams and whatnot. I think college football to me is better. Like I said, even though we don't have as many quality teams, you have 100 Division I teams and there's only about maybe 30 teams that are like good or worth watching out of 100, maybe 30 to 40, but I'm definitely enjoying college football. Even if the Ducks weren't number 1, I'm definitely enjoying college football more than the NFL this year. Maybe there's a correlation with that. NFL not good, my fantasy not good, not enjoying the NFL. Matchups on Thursday, Sunday, Monday, not that great. But hopefully we'll get at least a team to get to 20 before this game is up. I hope. All right. Start of the third quarter. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. Help your boy out. Take care of me and Paisley if you can. My favorite run play, jet sweep. I like that not only in college, but in the NFL. You know, kind of, and you have to run it at the appropriate time and whatnot. I mean, we already see plenty of dives and counters and whatnot. You know, reverses are cool when they're executed properly, but I kind of like the jet sweep with the misdirection. You know, when you send a guy in motion the opposite way and then they run the jet sweep the other, you know, but I would say probably jet sweep is my favorite. I mean, any offensive play that gets positive yardage can be cool, you know, even if it's a halfback dive, right? Or, you know, something of that nature, but. And of course, Jordan Mason isn't coming back for the rest of the game. And projected for 16 points. Well, he didn't get it. And you fucked me, Jordan. Thanks a lot, you bum. Purdy. Nice. Put his head down. First down, Niners. But it, like, you know, you don't got Ayuk. You don't got Juwan Jennings. You don't got McCaffrey. Hell, you don't even got Jordan Mason out there when Jordan was good earlier in the year. $12 men for Dallas. It's okay. You know, we're all at the bottom, you know, and, you know, we can all just be fucking terrible all together, you know. But it's all good. You know, this will be the last year that we do it unless I decide down the road to open it up again, you know, but, or if people want to do it, but I won't participate in it. But I think that's kind of a part that people like. You know, you want to try to beat me when I'm good, when I'm in the top three, try to get to the playoffs and, you know, try to have bragging rights and whatnot. But, you know, I feel, you know, other than myself, I feel like, you know, I think 70 or 80% of the people, you know, don't really want to do it anymore, you know, either based off, you know, what has happened to their team or injuries or whatnot. I mean, of course, you know, people like Reflect and Shep or Zini and Matt, you know, may want to do it because they're playing well, you know, and for this particular year, but it definitely has sucked out the fun for me, you know, for the NFL. Not that I hate the NFL. I don't think I'll ever get to the point where I hate the NFL like I hate the NBA, but it'll never get to that point. But too many injuries this year, too many disappointments. Purdy. There's Kittle. There you go, George. George trying to get into the end zone to score on National Tight Ends Day. Nice play by Kittle. Yeah, but I only have myself to blame, you know, because I drafted poorly for the first time in my life. You know, I took too many chances on players that normally I never draft, those type of players, and I did this year, trying to come up with an athletic super team that I thought that could be good, and in return, they ended up being the most injured team in the league. So, touchdown, Niners. Is that Jordan Mason? Of course it isn't. Nice job, Niners. Yeah, but, you know, AR, Rashad White, Cooper Kupp, Christian McCaffrey, Sam Laporta, that fucked me. Now, if those guys would have been healthy and played great, maybe I'm sitting right where Reflect is. I'm sitting right there with him, or with, Shep. But, I mean, to have all of those guys fail or play bad or, not play up to their expectations or get hurt, there's no recovering from that, There's nothing you can do, It's like either you get the right guys that stay healthy and play great all year, or you get an all-injured team, that sucks all the life out of you. And that's exactly what happened, so. John in the building, what's good? Yeah, Cade, obviously National Tight Ends Day, 2 tutties, like Kyle Pitts, even though one of Kyle Pitts' touchdowns shouldn't have counted. He dropped the football before he got in, but of course they didn't review it, or have a camera down there. But I'm used to getting screwed when things go bad, so. But again, I would rather have the Falcons win anyways. Since we don't have Evans and Godwin, it wouldn't make sense for us to, to win the division, to get blown out like the Eagles did last year. I don't want that, so. How you doing, John? 13-10, Niners. Two more likes to 20. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us out, John. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, would be appreciated. Trying to get to somewhere between 20 to 30 if possible.
Selection of F-150s in the entire Northwest. Landmark has an F-150 for you. Drive one today at Landmark Ford and Tiger.
Sunday Night Football brought to you by Toyota.
Thanks, John. I appreciate it.
Let's go places. By Walmart, get the gifts that show you get them. By Liberty Mutual Insurance, only pay for what you need. By Royal Caribbean.
Yeah. RPOs are cool too. If you got the right quarterback to run it. If you got like a Lamar or like a Jaden Daniels, that would be something that is fun to watch, because then you get to be able to see the intelligence come out as they read the defense. If they give it to the running back, they pull it out at the last second. Ooh, a little trick play by Dallas here. Oh, big hit on that sideline. Holy shit. Wow, body's flying. Big hit there. Yeah, we'll probably see Kittle in WWE. I would not be shocked by that, and I think he would be good. He's a good talker. He can talk shit on the mic. He could be a manager. He could be a guy that runs in. He could be a part of a faction. There could be a lot of places where they could have him be a part of the show in some part or another. So the officials can call a play like this that is bang, bang, but then we end up getting something that is obvious, like a Sam Darnold face mask or a Bucky Irving face mask, and then for whatever reason, they can't see that. Give me a break. Give me a break saying that was forward in that. And you're going to notice that, but you can't notice a face mask with 4 refs staring right at the player. Unbelievable. That's why people think this shit is rigged. Unbelievable. It's like the refs, they pick and choose when they want to call something, when it definitely is going to affect the bottom line with the betting in Vegas or whatever, the over, the under. Another reason why, the NFL in the last 2 years has been a little suspect. I mean, I've seen more weird things in the last 2 years, and I never was a believer of it. I get it. Some people thinking like everything is rigged, and I never was like that. But little things here and there. But it just feels like, more and more, the referees calling or not calling specific things that are blatant, with no real explanation. Oh, we didn't see it. Yeah, right. 3rd down and 4. Dak, little bootleg. Floater. Intercepted. The battle of the mids. I mean, I've always been a huge college football fan, and I love the NFL, but I'm starting to kind of shift more towards college football because and again, college football also, is going to have, some calls that aren't called, like the Ohio State-Oregon game and a lot of games that we watch, but it feels like the referees, aren't as bad on that end compared to the NFL from time to time. Reflect in the building. How are you? You're kicking ass and taking names, man. Taking over. Win the championship, my guy. Win every game. Go undefeated. Beat everyone's ass by 50 or more. Keep dominating, man. You'll have Zini with her weak bench. Shep, and then maybe Matt or Elliott. But I mean, if you relatively can stay healthy, I don't see anyone even being close to you. Nice week this week. Wish I could say the same, but, of course, I'm terrible. So anytime I get my hopes up that I might be able to compete, of course I won't. Amari Cooper, 1 point. Thanks a lot, you bastard. Oh, Jordan Mason, another injury during a game. I mean, can I get a game where I can actually have my players complete the game? And again, that's like my 4th or 5th straight game with an injury. Can't win when that happens. But at least you're doing well, so I'm happy for you. Yeah. But your team, you score touchdowns with almost every spot every week. And then, also you're getting sometimes 2 touchdowns or more in certain spots. It's like some teams, are getting, 130 to 160, 170, like pretty regularly. The teams at the top. And then you have the other teams that can't even get to a fucking 100. So that's how it goes. For some of us, it's not fun. And for some of y'all, you guys are having a blast. If you're Reflect or Zini or Shep or Matt, for the most part, you guys are having fun. But for the rest of us, it's fucking hell. It's not fun at all. Appreciate you. $20 holla. And hopefully we get some points in this game. I mean, but at least I was able to use Cooper Kupp. And if I'm going to lose every game the rest of the season, at least let me use my guys and get some joy out of Cooper Kupp, getting a touchdown or, you know what I mean? That's all I want. I just want my guys to be able to put some points up and let me lose in honorable fashion. Don't let me lose in a way where it looks like I don't know what I'm doing, when guys are getting hurt or, But I guess that's how it goes in fantasy, right? When things are going good, they're going great. And when they are going terrible, it's going to keep getting worse. Stacks on stacks, racks on racks, little Cactus Jack, bang, bang. Appreciate you. Let me know what you want to do for photos, and I got you. But keep kicking ass, man. I can live vicariously through you, because I feel as far as intelligence is concerned, you're the closest to me, based off strategy, analytics, and intelligence. And again, you're the smartest one in the league, and based on your team this year. And again, there's going to be some parts of luck where maybe a guy gets 2 touchdowns instead of 1 or maximizes, but you're putting your team in a position to win every week. And you're doing a great job. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, obviously, if we could win it all, that would be great, but I just don't know if that's possible. I mean, if we end up going undefeated and we play like Miami or whoever, in the playoff, Bama or whoever, Ohio State, and we win, and then somehow, some way we get to the Natty against Georgia, what are the chances that we beat Georgia in the Natty? And I don't think Carson Beck is very good, but that defense is just as good as ours, if not better. And they got some, defensive players, going to the NFL on that D-line. That's kind of my thing. Like, I could see us making it to the Natty, but I just don't know if we play anybody but Georgia, I think we could win. But if we play Georgia in the Natty, we could end up getting beat, and I think it would be close, but that defense could make Dylan Gabriel and our offense look very, very average. I mean, Georgia's defense, when they're on, it's very difficult to beat, And I think our offense could match what they do on offense. I think Gabriel is better than Carson Beck, and I actually like our offense better than their offense, but, I guess it really comes down to defense, right? Defense wins games and defense wins championships, and there's only a couple defenses on our level. Touchdown, Niners! And there's a flag on the play. We're at 31, 69 to go. But if we were to be able to win a Natty, I mean, the Blazers are terrible. The Kraken don't look good. The Buccaneers are terrible now with no Godwin. And obviously no Evans. Our season is over. I don't, out of all my teams, everyone sucks except for Oregon. So at least touchdown, George Kittle, National Tight Ends Day. And you already knew that was going to happen. Yeah. But I think that if Oregon were to go undefeated and we were able to, do well in the playoff and get to the Natty, I would want to play Georgia, because we've already lost to them before. And, that would be the team that I feel that, would be the most rewarding. It's like, unless it's like Ohio State, if we played them in the Natty, that would be rewarding as well, but I want to play, the best of the best on, whoever that ends up being. If it ends up being, Texas or Georgia or Ohio State or whatever. But I don't know. I think beating Georgia would feel the most excitement, besides Ohio State. Those would be the two teams that I would want to play, because those are the two teams that Oregon has lost to. In, natties or, big games, and I would love to be able to get a little bit of payback. So, yeah. But it's like Buccaneers, no good. Kraken, no good. Blazers, no good. Just, man, it's tough. But hopefully the Kraken will get better as the year goes on. But Blazers, Blazers are almost unwatchable. And obviously with the Mariners, we'll have like a pretty good year, but sometimes not good enough, But at least I get more joy out of the Mariners than most people do. So, yeah. But I don't really consider myself a Blazer fan, though. I don't support, like, I'll go to games, with my buddy and stuff, and I can have a fun time at the game, but am I going to be sitting there watching every game beginning to end like I used to with the Blazers? No. So I can't even really call myself a Blazer fan anymore because, I'm not a fanatic for the Blazers. I don't watch every game, I'll tune in here and there. I'm an occasional watcher of the Blazers, so. But, well, once you guys end up getting the Sonics, you'll be better than the Blazers. I'll tell you that. But the thing is, though, is that if you had an NBA team, right, would you watch the Sonics every game? I guess it depends on, how good they were. But if they were as bad as the Blazers, would you go out of your way to watch the Sonics? I mean, there would be some initial excitement of getting the Sonics back. So a lot of people that were fans back in the day would probably stick it out for a couple bad years. But after a couple years, if they didn't get better, at some point, those fans would start to give up a little bit too. So. Yeah, but the Sonics are coming back. They're going to end up having an NBA franchise there. Come on, Toby. stay with it, buddy.
Refresh your rhythm.
20-10 Niners. But we'll see what happens if it ends up being the Sonics and then a Vegas team, Sonics in like Nashville or wherever they got to, they're going to go. I mean, Vegas and Seattle would make sense. 2010 Niners. Yeah, but the thing is, people in Seattle, they don't claim OKC as their team. Like they could give two shits, because that was the Sonics. But once they left, a very, very small percentage of people that live in Washington or Oregon are Thunder fans. Like most of them were like, fuck that, and they're just like, we'll wait for the Sonics to come back, or they ended up being Blazer fans. A very small percentage is like, yeah, Sonics, Thunder, and then they stuck with it. Not very many. At least the ones that I've known. So Zeke. Yeah. No one gives a shit. It's like, and they had Durant and Russell Westbrook. And it's like, as soon as the loyalty went away and they became the Thunder, all the Sonics fans were like, fuck you. Like, we don't care. We're not going to follow you and buy your fucking gear. Like, you left us, So once they come back, and then it'll be their team. And then and then a lot of fans will be back. And then they'll stop, rooting for the Blazers or not rooting for any team, But I feel like a lot of those Sonics fans that became Blazer fans, once Dame left, then they left as well, There's no point of rooting for the Blazers if they don't have Dame there. They're terrible. Starbucks, yeah. Corporate America. Did you get a chance to go any thrift shopping today or anything? But I'm happy at least we got one person dominating the league and putting up big numbers and setting the fucking standard on excellence and what it's supposed to look like to be a fucking champion and how good you are. I'm happy that we at least have one team that's putting up those type of numbers, and then you got 3 or 4 that are trying to keep up with you. So I can live vicariously through you. And then for the other 6 of us, we're having a hard time just getting to 100, which is the saddest thing ever. I don't think I've ever seen so many teams desperate just to get to a fucking 100, and some of us getting 60, 70, 80, 90 points. I mean, I've never seen that before, but I guess this is the world that we live in now for fantasy football. Watching NFL Red Zone. Yeah, that Jaden Daniels Hail Mary, that was nice. Moral of the story, if you're the Chicago Bears, don't talk shit to the fans, all right? And then be out of position, and then you're the one that tips it into Noah Brown's hand, obviously after you were talking shit, to the fans there in the crowd, the Commando fans. Sports karma is so, it's funny how that works out like that. When you get too overconfident and cocky and you start being extra, wanting other teams to get injured or lose or whatever, you get those fans that like to talk shit and think that no repercussions are going to happen. And that's why I don't do that. That's why I don't gamble. That's why I don't, say those types of things, because I see it happen over and over again. If you're going to be extra and you're going to be negative and you're going to talk shit, bad shit is coming your way. You just wait, and some people have learned that lesson and others have not, but it's funny how the sports gods make you pay in the worst possible time. Spectacular Hail Mary, and for all those people thinking that Jaden Daniels wasn't the Lamar Jackson of the NFC, I don't know how many more games you need to see, before you understand that this guy is going to be one of the top 10 quarterbacks moving forward, He's better than AR. He's better than a lot of the, he's better than Caleb. Jaden is the truth. And there are going to be times where Jaden Daniels will get hurt, but the thing is that separates him from Caleb and the others and Drake May. And we still haven't got a chance to see JJ McCarthy or Michael Penix Jr., who might end up being a little bit better than people think as well, but he's got the it factor, Again, he was good at LSU, but again, right team with the right coach, with Dan Quinn, with the right players. And again, you don't have Daniel Snyder owning the team, and that's the biggest part, for the Commandos as well. So.
Muscle weakness can be signs of a life-threatening condition. Side effects may include allergic reactions, neck and injection site pain, fatigue, and headache. Don't receive Botox if there's a skin infection. Tell your doctor your medical history, muscle or nerve conditions, and medications, including botulinum toxins, as these may
there you go.
have serious side effects.
Chronic migraine may still keep you from being there.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, it's just, I'm such a hardcore fan. I mean, to be able to invest time and energy and effort and, money, it's like I need to be able to see a good product, And so far with the Blazers and the Kraken hasn't been very good. Yeah, me too. I can't wait to see, after Cousins is done with the run, and then you end up getting Michael Penix Jr. there. It's going to be super exciting. I mean, hell, even J.J. McCarthy on the Vikings. I mean, we thought that fucking Sam Darnold, and they had no chance of being good. And, who knows? Maybe J.J. McCarthy will play like Sam Darnold once he comes back next year. Maybe he'll pan out. Maybe he won't, but we don't really know. I think more people are kind of leaning towards that he'll be a bust, but we have to wait and see, right? You never really know until you actually see the product on the field. And if you have a healthy Hawkinson with a Jetta and an Addison and, you have Aaron Jones and the offensive line gets better and they still got guys like Van Ginkel out there and Harrison Smith, like all you got to do is just not fuck up and fumble and throw picks. You just be a game manager. And if you can be like a Brock Purdy, for the Vikings, like Sam Darnold is, maybe J.J. McCarthy might pan out, But I have more of trust and faith in Penix than I do McCarthy at this point. Reflect with a 19er. Thank you so much. First down, Niners. But at least I have one thing that I'm enjoying this year, which is college football. So stacks on stacks, racks on racks with a little Cactus Jack, bang, bang. And I did enjoy the Mariners this season, even though it didn't work out for us. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. But seems like for the NHL season with the Kraken, the NBA with the Blazers, and obviously with Tampa and the injuries, we have, no chance of being successful for the rest of the year. And that's sad, when we could have, won the NFC South, maybe ended up making a deep run. But those dreams are completely over. And I don't think that we're going to win very many games the rest of the year. Purdy, play action. Wide open. George Kittle again. First down, Niners. Bang, bang, Niner gang. We're at 50 to go. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. No. It looked like that. I mean, they're about 500. I don't know if that's, considered not really good or bad. I mean, middle, I mean, we're in 6th place out of 8 teams in the Pacific, so not very good. Vegas, LA, Calgary, Vancouver, Edmonton, and then Seattle. The only teams that were better than the Anaheim Ducks and San Jose Sharks, who are fucking terrible. So, yeah. Again, we don't have a superstar, and the goalie play not good. We need better goalies. And again, it's still early, and hopefully they turn it around. I mean, they'll be better than the Blazers, so at least I got a little bit of hope, that they might be able to turn it around. But if you look at the roster, just not enough good players on the team compared to other, teams that have superstars or that have a consistent goalie or two. So, I mean, once we end up getting a top 5 goalie and a top 5 superstar, then the Kraken will be in business. But, I mean, who knows when that will happen. But I'll still enjoy watching them more than the NBA or the Blazers. So So we'll do Steelers Giants tomorrow. All I need is Russell Wilson to throw up 70 in fantasy tomorrow, and I can win. Very easy to do. I can easily get 70 out of Russell Wilson. And then we'll end up doing the World Series on Tuesday and Wednesday because really there's nothing else to do. And those will be in New York for Game 4 and Game 5. And then on Thursday, we'll end up doing the Jets and the Texans. Appreciate you, Reflect. You've been really holding it down. And I really appreciate it because if it wasn't for you and a few others, it would be a very, very difficult time here on the NWSF.
That line that I just gave you, if he gave us a leave the jersey in a better place for the limited time that you're in that jersey, comes from Kirk Ferentz, a long-time Iowa head coach. Is that Ferentz line? He said, absolutely it is.
A whole bunch of people love playing for that guy.
Birdie, little screen. Well, at least we got one team to 20 because in that first half, that was one of the shittiest first halves. I was about to say it kind of felt me like we were watching Giants and Bengals from a couple of weeks ago. But at least now the offense is starting to flow a little bit more. And obviously Dallas is not winning this game. But even though I'm going to lose by $1 billion, it would be nice to get a couple long field goals out of Aubrey. But, that's not going to happen more than likely either. Yeah, but I can always get excited about the Mariners, and I have more, loyalty and love for them. So regardless if they're good or bad, I'm still going to, do 150 plus games of them every year. So. Yeah. And the M's are still grinding it out, It's like we're so close, but we're like so far away, But hopefully they add pieces better than fucking Jorge Polanco and Mitch Garver. Like, hopefully we can actually have a healthy team and we can make the playoffs next year. And then we'll see, what else happens with the roster and how they shape it. Paisley in the background. Paisley Pup was snuggling on the little blankets over here next to me, even though I'm loud, but she wants to explore. She smells food in the house. Man in motion. Juszczyk leading the way. And Debo just can't get there. But I think with Mariner fans, even though we know that Dipoto and Stanton are terrible, we still get excited at the beginning of the year, the real hardcore loyal Mariner fans, that are never going to give up on this team. We're still going to watch, we're still going to root. I'm still going to go to the games. My love for the Mariners will never die, like it kind of did with the Blazers and whatnot. It'll never be that way. Now, if I would have met Clyde Drexler or someone like that growing up, then maybe that loyalty would be a little bit stronger, but, I still believe the Mariners can get it done one day before I'm gone. I still believe that the Mariners can win a pennant. And hopefully I can see the Mariners winning a pennant before I'm gone, as well as a Ducks Natty, regardless if it's this year or in the future. But it kind of feels like if Lanning stays 5 to 10 years, that it's almost inevitable that we're going to win one. Like I said, we might have to go to 2 or 3 before we win it. But, if we don't, get there this year, we might have to lose a couple times before we win. But we've already lost a few times in the Natty. It's like, maybe this year is the year for us. I don't know. I hope so.
I wanted to think really big on Christmas night. I want to close this deal. I love it, right? You got it, buddy. Love you, Mark. Yeah. You're going down today.
It's gonna hurt. Hey, how about we come over there with some ice cold Coronas and you share some of that barbecue? That sounds lovely. Let's come in the neighbors. Barbecue, that's cool ribs.
$20 to 10 Niners. Hopefully the Steelers and Giants game is better than this. Touchdown, Niners. Brock Purdy up the middle. Man, 35 from Hurts, 22 from Kyron Williams, 23 from Mixon, 13 and still counting for CD, 15 from Thomas, 17 from Njoku, 14, almost 15 from Montgomery, 13 from Detroit, 8 from Reichard. Man, those are some beautiful numbers, man. I remember I used to put up numbers like that. Last year, year before that, year before that, year before that. Not this year. Kick is up and good. 27-10 Niners. Shows you how important it is to have a quality quarterback. And all the teams that are, at the top, typically have a top 4, top 5 quarterback. And then the teams that don't, you know where you're at. Yeah, I was watching Red Zone, and I was like, oh, man. I was like, man, you're just raking, dude. One touchdown, another touchdown, and then it's like you get more touchdowns out of your lineup than any other team in the league every week. It's exciting to be able to see, and every once in a while there'll be like a dud, that you might have a 0 or a 1 or someone gets hurt, but you have so many more points from the other players that even if you have something that normally would fuck, that other team up and lose, if that was the case, but you have so many other strong pieces that even if you end up getting a 1 or a 0, you're still going to end up having enough to make up for it, which most teams in our league do not. Yeah, that's who I was trying to draft. You guys kept fucking stealing the players that I wanted, all the players that I fucking wanted. And I needed to get a good quarterback this year. And then as soon as all the quarterbacks went off the board, I knew I was fucked. And it was either going to be like Burrow or AR. And even if I would have went for Burrow, that wouldn't have been the long-term answer for me. I still would probably have a similar record to what I have now because Burrow has been good for half the games and the other half he hasn't been good. So shows you how important it is to be able to make sure you have like a Lamar or a Jalen or like a Josh Allen. It really is important. No, his leg fell off. He ain't coming back. His shoulder is injured just like it always is. He ain't coming back. Yeah, and even not having, Kelsey up front at center. And there's going to be some bad matchups that, are going to be a little rough. You can throw Kyler in there and see what he can do and whatnot. But Lamar going in the first round doesn't look so silly anymore, does it, by Elliott? Like he knew that maybe this was the MVP year for Lamar. Adding Derrick Henry. It's like Henry's numbers are good, Zay's numbers are good. Lamar is playing like the best quarterback in the league. So normally, grabbing a guy in the first round at quarterback is like usually detrimental to fantasy, and it's like something that's frowned upon. But if you end up getting like the best quarterback in the league, yeah, you might be a little thin at running back or wide receiver, but at least you get Lamar for every fucking week. I wish I could say that. I would love to be able to have Lamar, week in and week out. But yeah, I did too. You're not the only one. End of the third quarter, 27-10, Niners.
Cool, right? Look at my nostrils, right? It's just nice to know. Years after I'm gone, this guy will be standing and touch it. He's melting. No. Only paying for what you need.
Wish this was going better for you. Hasn't been. Big Ten has not been kind to Washington, USC, or UCLA this year, and I really would wish that you guys have success like Oregon. Like I don't want just to have one good team. It'd be much nicer to have like a squad of teams, battle against the regulars in that division. But hopefully in the near future, things will be, and it'll take a few years to build. It's not like it's going to be like, 1 year and then, it's going to take a few years to build it. But hopefully things will get better sooner than later. That way that we can have more than just one team from the Pac-12 dominating. Appreciate you. One more like to 20. Let's go. Yeah, but even with that being said, with Double E taking him in the first round, he's right there with Matt to be in the playoffs. So it hasn't hurt him, and Lamar has been great. So. Two quarterback, yeah. Hopefully you guys can get that. What do you think about the head coach? You want him fired? Do you want a new coach? How many years are you going to give Fish before you want him out? Dak? Oh, it's 12 noon. You know what time it is? It's time for a sack lunch. Yum, 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 yum.
They had 21 points. The Cowboys had 16 yards. And didn't gain much on that one to start the fourth quarter.
I was going to say, you got to give them a few years before they say goodbye, even though there's no loyalty by players or coaches anymore. Do you think that the Huskies will actually give him 4 years before they fire him, or they would cut him loose by like year 3? Because you got to think, you know what I mean? Like the Big Ten is competitive, but I honestly think the Pac-12 is better top to bottom. You know, if we're actually looking at all the teams that are in the Big Ten, like the teams that are in the middle of the Big Ten and the bottom, you know, I feel like the Pac-12 teams that are in the middle and bottom would beat the shit out of the teams that are in the Big Ten that are in the middle of the bottom for like the most part, you know. So for all the people that thought that the Pac-12 was always little brother and whatnot just because they had Ohio State and Michigan and Penn State, that's great and all. Yeah, you got 3 teams at the top, but, you know, as speaking for the rest, you know, and maybe excluding like Wisconsin or Iowa being somewhat decent, like there's a lot of shitty teams in the Big Ten. Like, let's be honest, there's not, you know, like that's pretty good towards the top, and there's a few of them in the middle that are respectable, you know, but there's a lot of bad ones in there. 7 years. 4 years, likely 5. Yeah, then hopefully that you guys will be able to figure out one quarterback scenario strategy is better than 2 quarterbacks. 2 quarterbacks doesn't work. And I would love to see another Michael Penix Jr. type in a Husky uniform. That was special. And I know Michael Penix Jr.'s don't really grow on trees either, though. So that was like once in a generation kind of player. I don't really know. Yeah, you know, I think it really comes down to, you know, how he's feeling that particular day. I think there's going to be some days where he says fuck it and goes for it on 4th and inches, 4th and 1, 4th and 2, 4th and 3. And then there's going to be other times where he's going to go for it. But also it depends on our kicker. Our kicking situation isn't very good. So I think that has something to do with it. Now, if we ended up having like an all-pro kicker or like one of the top 5 kickers in the country, I think that would make it a little bit more easy for him, even with his Chip Kelly mentality, to be like, okay, you know, I want to go for it, but we got this top 5 kicker. Let's just take the points. But, you know, Atticus Sappington and, you know, we got a couple other guys there in the building, and I don't think that we really trust our kicking staff that much. So I think that might be the answer, you know, where they want to trust the kicking staff, but they don't. So unless it's like a chip shot, you know, there will be times that they will be, you know, a little bit Chip Kelly-ish, where they're going to go for it and it'll probably backfire, you know, but we'll see how it goes throughout the season. And we're going to the Big House and playing Michigan on Saturday. We will win that game, but the environment will be hostile, and it might be a slow start for us, you know, in the first half. You know, and we'll pull away in the third quarter and fourth quarter, or we'll come out right out of the gates and punch them in the mouth, and we'll be up by like 17 right away. You know, it'll be one or two scenarios, but at the end, I know we will win. But you know, that college football playoff, I mean, everyone's got a fair shake to make something happen. So I feel like for the first time ever in college football, it's an even playing field. And I feel that like any team could win the championship. It could be Georgia, it could be Oregon, it could be Ohio State, it could be Texas, it could be, you know, Miami. Like, you don't really know who's going to stay healthy and hot. And if it ends up being just by one game, hell, anything could happen, right? So, yeah. But let's be honest, even if we would have went for field goals and we ended up tying, there's no guarantee that Oregon still would have won. You know, you guys might have still ended up winning one of those games or both of those games, even if we would have ended up tying it up or, you know, going for the field goal instead. I mean, Oregon had a good team, but there's a reason why you guys made it to the Natty, you know, with the roster that you had. You know, Penix was great. Right? Rome, Jalen, the running game, the defense. I mean, we were great, but you guys were great too, you know? And there's no guarantee that even if we make those plays that we would have even got to the championship. Maybe we would have lost prior to that. Like, even if we were in your position last year, you know? Sometimes you got to lose before you win. You got to crawl before you walk. So, but I did have a lot of fun watching you guys last year. And I watch you guys every year. You know, I watch the Beavers, I watch the Cougs, I watch the Huskies, I watch everybody. Niners with the punt. And I actually, I'm actually kind of happy that you guys ended up beating Oregon. So hopefully Dan Lanning kind of learned something from that, and it would have been awesome to see Bo Nix in the championship. But if we would have played Michigan also, we would have lost. We wouldn't have fucking won. We would have lost just like you guys did. They run the ball, right? And then they play really good defense. And that would have been too much for Oregon as well. So it's not like if we would have made it over you guys, we would have won the championship. We wouldn't. There is a 0% chance we would have won. 0. It just wouldn't have happened. And I'm glad that you guys had your moment, because I already knew Oregon, with the, obviously Dan Lanning. We didn't lose our coach like you guys did, to Alabama. We have, Uncle Phil. We got the NIL. We have the uniforms. We have the swag. So it's like I already knew Oregon is going to have another shot. But for you guys, you're more of a small market team. You got to build it for like 3 or 4 years, and then you're going to have like 1 or 2 really strong years. And then once it's done, then you're going to have to rebuild again. And that's how it typically goes for schools that don't have the money or don't have the coach or lose their coach, and have to start over. Not every team is going to have like the Oregon, recruiting or the Oregon money or the Dan Lanning. I mean, hell, Dan might be coach of the year this year, right? He's better than Ryan Day. He's better than Sarkisian. Really, the only other coach that you can put in Dan Lanning's, kind of level is Kirby Smart, so. But I'm actually glad that you guys got where you were at, and I was actually rooting for you guys to win it all. That would have been amazing for the Pac-12 and the Pacific Northwest. And I know a lot of Oregon fans would have been salty, but not me. I would have loved it, and I would have celebrated it with you guys. Hell, I got a fucking sweatshirt from my childhood of the Washington Huskies in '91 when you guys were co-champs, with the U. And I had a Notre Dame sweatshirt, a Michigan sweatshirt, and a Washington sweatshirt. And this is back when I was like 7, 8, 9 years old, and I think I still have them to this day. Yeah, but you guys made the Pacific Northwest proud. And think about this. Like, how many people were doubting Oregon and Washington all year, And to be able to show people that, hey, the Pac-12 was the best, fucking conference top to bottom in our last year. And there's no denying that or arguing it. The Big Ten was not better top to bottom than the Pac-12 in our last year. The SEC sure as hell wasn't. The ACC and the Big 10 or Big 12 weren't, so it was just kind of a nice little FU back, to a lot of the, other college football fans and the people that vote, that how incredibly biased they are for the Big 10 and SEC. That, hey, sometimes little brother turns into big brother. Just because we might have been little brother before, it's hard to compete with, Ohio State, Michigan, Alabama, and Georgia when they're getting the best recruits every fucking year. There's a reason why that those schools typically were winning. And if it wasn't one of those schools, it had to be someone like Dabo Swinney and Clemson, and they had to have a couple high recruiting classes to get players like Trevor Lawrence and a few others to compete with the Bamas and the Georgias, Or you got to have a Johnny Football and a Mike Evans to beat Alabama. It's like you're not going to be able to just do it out of nowhere. It really takes a special coach, a special team, and a special group of guys, to make it happen. So, yeah, the 91. Yeah, and like I said, if we do get there, I hope we play Georgia first, and if it's not them, Ohio State, if it lines up that way, because I think that would be the most rewarding for us, because those are two teams that have beat us either for a natty or in a big game, and, if you want to be the best, I want to beat the best, Intercepted, but out of bounds. Yeah, I don't have too much like Washington Huskies like memorabilia, But I remember, playing tackle football with the friends, and I would always rotate the sweatshirt, because it was either like Notre Dame with like Lou Holtz and obviously Tim Brown in that era, and then obviously getting into the Rick Meyer era, and then after that, little Jerome Bettis, and then obviously Washington in 91, and then Michigan with, Desmond Howard and their little run as well. Obviously a little bit later with Charles Woodson, but if we're talking like late 80s, early 90s, I mean, it was either Notre Dame sweatshirt. Okay, that one got muddy. Michigan one, and then the Washington one. And that was obviously before I pledged my allegiance to the Oregon Ducks. I watched them, but, I didn't really claim them at that point. So, I had other things on my mind, like video games and Ninja Turtles and wrestling figures. But I watched a hell of a lot of Saved by the Bell and a lot of college football, and obviously Notre Dame being on, every week, like, on like NBC, it was like hard to ignore. They're always on, so it's like, oh, let me watch it. Just like how people became Cubs fans and Braves fans, the shit was always on WGN, or TBS. So all you had to do is turn it on, right? Floater, if you had cable, and I didn't have cable growing up. I had to have friends record it for me because I was kind of poor. So. People were recording Monday Night Raw, WCW Nitro, or games for me. So that was one of the best games all year. The statement game. Too bad we couldn't have gotten that repeat game against, Georgia, but or Michigan, excuse me. Oh yeah, Matt Court. Shotgun set, 3rd down and 10. Ferg, and they're still trying to get Ferg in the end zone for National Tight Ends Day. And this would have been the day to bet if you were going to bet money to win, but also it wouldn't, because this year is not the year of the tight ends like it normally is. So I know there's a lot of people that were really wanting to pull the trigger on today to win big money, and some of them decided not to bet because of how the tight ends have been this year. But when it's National Tight Ends Day, it's the day that you have the best chance of winning money if you can put the right parlay together. And there's a lot of people that pick like 7 and get 6, and there's like 5 that that are going to score. It's just like those last 2, are they going to get in the end zone? But if you can correctly get like 7 tight ends or 8 tight ends, there's some money there. Dak. Yeah, that Ohio State win was one of the best wins in Oregon's history. Biggest win at Autzen by far. And, again, we've had some pretty good teams over the years. The Joey Harrington, team was the best, NFL team that we've ever had, top to bottom in that era. Joey, obviously had something special there with Maurice Morris and Ontario Smith, Keenan Howery, Sammy Parker, Justin Peele. We had a lot of NFL players in that matter of 2 to 3 years. But that year, and then the Natty year with Darren Thomas, LaMichael, and DeAnthony against Auburn that we lost, that's the one that we should have won. And then obviously last year's team, pretty solid. This year's team, pretty solid. Boise State Oregon game was good too, but that's almost like like a Husky thing, like praying that the Ducks lose so you guys can like laugh and have fun. So you know what I mean? Like that's like a game that you can like laugh at us and talk shit because you're a Husky fan. But the Ohio State game was better with everything on the line. Having top 3, number 2 versus number 3. Now if Boise State was ranked, number 2 and we were number 3, then yeah, maybe. But the Ohio State one was definitely a bigger game and a bigger moment. The Boise State one was just kind of like Oregon sucks these first 2 weeks because we're injured and we're not playing well, and we didn't know Genty was like the best running back in the country, so that made it a little bit more surprising. But now as you look back, that was like a really good win for Oregon, and it shows like how good Boise State really is. It wasn't just like, oh, Oregon playing bad. No, Boise State was good, and Genty is amazing. Touchdown, Cowboys. Oh, look who it is. Fantasy points for Reflect. And just when you thought Reflect wasn't going to get the fantasy points with CD, no. Better late than never, and he'll always get the points in the fourth quarter. There you go. Reflect trying to get 200. You already knew eventually he was going to get in. The only piece in fantasy that's worth a damn on the Cowboys, CeeDee Lamb, and there you go. Great job, my guy. Oh, 172 points. Is that all? 113, 122 to 125, 76 and 90, 76 and 118. You got like 100 more points than me. Congratulations. Yeah, and he's going to be coming off a loss, too. Because Zini's going to beat him. Zini's got Najee, and she's only down by 3 right now. Projected to win by 10, so. Man, and I hate seeing, scores that are like 70 to 90. For like Sarah or Megan or myself, or anybody. It's just disgusting to see, like in fantasy, like everyone deserves to be at 100 at minimum. Like, I don't give a shit who you are. I don't want to see any fucking buddy at 99 or below. That's bullshit. You're putting time and effort, but you're fucked with injuries or bad play. Like, it's crushing for me, and to be able to see it for other people. I fucking hate it, man. Like, there's nothing worse looking at your fantasy team or someone else's and seeing them under 100. It's like, my heart goes out to everyone that has a shitty week or a shitty team, and then on top of that, if you're actually trying. It's one thing if you just give up and you don't give no fucks, then yeah, you're going to get probably 70 to 90 points every week. But when you're trying, your best and you still are getting fucking 70 to 90, golly. Boo, fantasy gods. They're like, whoosh. They're like, you've been top 3 your whole life. Whoosh. This is what it's like to be like the other people that you beat in years past. Whoosh. This is what it's like. Whoosh. This is what it's like to be them. Whoosh. And then they put me in retirement. Yeah, but also, you know what? What's more for me compared to like Megan or Sarah, I had supposedly the second best draft. But those guys did not, play well or got injured or underperformed. But the main reason that my team is worse than Sarah or, Megan is that I drafted wrong, for the first time in my life, and I paid the price for it. You can't draft AR. You can't draft Sam Laporta. You can't draft Cooper Kupp and CMC and Rashad White. Like, I fucked up in those 5 spots. And if you fuck up in 5 spots, out of 9, and I can always get the number 1 kicker or the number 1 defense, that's fine. I can get that on the wire or draft that. But that's not good enough to have number 1 kicker, number 1 defense, and then to have all these other positions just be terrible, And that's, and not getting my guys. I'm a Justin Jefferson guy. Did I get him? No. Right? I'm a David Montgomery guy. Did I get him? No. I'm an Amon-Ra St. Brown guy. Did I get him? No. And so, anytime you go against the grain, even though I thought I was going to build the most athletic team in fantasy that had potential to be right there with Reflect, but in return, I got the most injured team, in the league with obviously underwhelming play. And when you make mistakes like that in fantasy in the draft, you have no chance. And I have over 110 moves or something. So even though, I make moves, it's still not enough. I'm at 135. I'm at 135 moves, and it's still not good enough to get me caught up to everyone else. So it shows you I can still be intelligent. I can still be smart. I can let my emotions get the best of me and drop guys when I shouldn't, based off frustration, or wanting to teach them a lesson and whatnot. But, I made too many mistakes. So I'm to blame for that. Nobody else. My fault. Even though that my team was projected with the second best draft after we were done. But then after week 1, everything, went downhill, down the tubes, down the shitter. Too many mistakes, and you can't make those mistakes. You make those mistakes, you have no chance to make it up. I can always find guys on the wire, but you can't replace top-tier talent, period. And I think that's a harsh reality, not only for me, but for everyone else in the league that's watched me play up to this point. Being top 3 every year for years and years and years, and then having this kind of year. Down the sideline. Pierce Hall, he's like, I got shot and I came back before CMC. First down, Niners. Yeah. But I'm glad that you're being as dominant as you are, because that's normally where I am at. And, where people are saying, fuck, how do I catch up to reflect? Like, guy scores fucking touchdowns on every player almost every week. And that's what it's supposed to be like when you're dominant, where you're fucking hitting on every fucking piece. You're moving shit around at kicker and defense. You know what I mean? You're not sticking with the same fucking kicker and the same fucking defense all year. You're making moves and you're working the wire, even if you're in first place. And again, there's going to be certain teams that might end up getting close to a championship, but failing, because the bench is shitty. Like if you're one of the top 4 teams and your bench is shitty, all it takes is one guy or two to get injured in your starting 9 that hasn't got hurt, and then you're done. Like Zini needs a better bench, but at this point it hasn't hurt her. But if she ends up getting a couple injuries like Burrow and Chase or, something else, then it's over. And then someone else will take her spot, clear and simple, and that's why it's so important that you have to have a good bench and you have to make sure you're updating it. And if you're just going to leave things the way that they are, that's a big risk. It might work out for you, but it might not, but again, she has been blessed with no injuries for the most part. So it hasn't really affected her with not having a bench improved, but definitely a team that's won our league before and can win it again. Yeah. And Nico will be back, and Diggs' year might be over. That's not good for Matt, but Diggs has a knee injury. He might be out for the year. We'll find out how serious it is. But once Nico comes back, obviously Nico and Tank Dell should be getting some looks. Unfortunately, CJ Stroud isn't putting up fantasy points for Sarah that she thought she was going to get, like Josh Allen. Thinking, ooh, look at all these receivers, and this could be big. And CJ Stroud could be a top 3, top 5, quarterback overall. And that's obviously the reason why she drafted over Jalen and Josh Allen. But unfortunately, sometimes you can be a great player, but you're not going to put up great fantasy points, a la Patrick Mahomes and a few others. Like CJ Stroud's numbers have been like bad for as good as he is. He should have been able to put up way more points for Sarah. But again, sometimes it's scheme and the players and the way they use that player. But also too, the main reason you wouldn't want to go CJ number 2 after Elliott took Lamar in the first round, right? Is that he doesn't run. Right, Jalen and Josh run. So if they have a bad throwing game, they can make up for it with the tush push or getting in the end zone. CJ can't, and so that is a big risk when you're going for a guy like that, because CJ's got to be, and Lamar is a runner as well. So it's like if you pick a quarterback that is a pocket guy, you better pray they're fucking Tom Brady. Otherwise, it probably won't work out. Or it'll work out every other year, where it might be one good year for CJ where he's a top 3 quarterback, and then the next year CJ Stroud is like top 10 and he's good, but he's not putting up 20 to 30 every week. He's putting up 13 to 19 every week. And some weeks that'll be good, and other weeks that won't cut it. So yeah, 1 week playoffs. But again, it also depends on matchups and the division that your team is playing against. And if you're going against a weak division, right, in the AFC, if you have NFC players, sometimes that's enough to win a championship as well, because you're taking advantage of the bad teams that particular year. Or if that player is just beast mode, kick is good, 30-17, Niners. Yeah, and again, there's a chance that Zini or Shep or Matt or Elliott could win, but obviously your team is the best top to bottom, and you're the smartest. So, being smart is, there's no like, oh, he just lucked himself in. No, it doesn't work like that. And there's a reason why I finished in the top 3. It wasn't goddamn luck, a lot of it is fucking skill, but just not for me this year. Took too many chances, and I learned my lesson. So. And sometimes you got to fail to understand what you did. Only idiots repeat themselves and continue to make the same mistakes. It's like if I were to do the league next year and I would pick Anthony Richardson, or I would pick Cooper Kupp or CMC, and I would do the same shit that I did this year. And yeah, you could get different results, but Sometimes you got to learn a harsh lesson in life and then adjust. Right. And that's why I didn't start him. You know, I had Caleb, right? And I had, projected for like 15, 16. I had Goff projected for like 15, 16, right? And I also had Bates at one point, but I thought there would be more touchdowns than field goals, and I was hoping that Aubrey could give me a 10 to 12, so it wouldn't really matter, and I didn't need to roster 2 kickers, and whatnot. But Goff, right, 15.5 points, 52, but like 85 yards total, like a weird game. A lot of running and a lot of ass kicking, but not the traditional Goff 3 touchdown game or 2 touchdown game with 200 to 300 yards. So, but even if I end up scoring, 30, 40, 50, it's still not going to be enough with Russ. It's like I need Russ to score like the highest point total in fantasy history, and I still would lose. Yeah, fantasy can be very crazy like that. Or if you end up having plays that, get close to a touchdown, but they get down to like the 5, the 4, the 3, the 2, the 1. Because when that happens, they're not going to be going with Goff. They're not going to be throwing the ball. They're going to be handing it off to Gibbs and Montgomery, which is the smart move to do. So. Hey, join the party, bro. You're shitty too, but you're better than me. That's just how it goes. Like for a lot of us, we're in the shitty factory. I might be the CEO of the shitty factory, but you guys are all the vice presidents and the fucking night shift managers. We're all fucking in this shit fest together. CD, first down, Cowboys. Reflect some more points. Win that championship. Beat Shep or Zini or Matt or Elliot or whoever. Co-host of the shit show. Yeah. It's kind of crazy too, like when you look in fantasy and the tiers of the players, like the best of the best in the world are so fucking good. Like it's like you need those guys, and you have to understand like scheme and how the team is going to use those players. And also you have to pay attention to what the elite players do. And if you pay attention to what the elite players do, like normally I go running back heavy, but I went wide receiver heavy, then Reflect went based off that pattern, and it worked out great, even though he lost Rashee Rice. Touchdown! Oh, guess who? CeeDee Lamb. Can we get you some more points? It's like getting points with Amon-Ra or Jay Jetta or Mike Evans or Keenan Allen for me last year. All you do is score points. Nice job. CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb in the first half, nothing. Reflect comes in. CeeDee Lamb scores almost every play that they throw to him. Boom shakalaka, CeeDee Lamb. Fantasy points. Get Reflect to 200. But that's what happens when you end up getting like 3 out of the top 5 receivers or 3 out of the top 5 running backs that I usually get. Like, I had Chubb, Josh Jacobs. Who did I have? Chubb, Josh Jacobs, and Saquon. When Saquon actually was healthy, 3 out of the top 4, and then I had 3 of the top 5 receivers. If you can have Jetta, Amon-Ra, and then you have Keenan Allen and Mike Evans, and you have like 4 out of the top 10, or you have Nico, Rashee Rice, CeeDee Lamb, and even guys on the bench that you never even had to use up to this point, like Thomas. Like it shows the depth. Like you have so many players that even the bench guys are hitting 20 points, and they're putting up the same numbers as those big name guys. And having guys like David Montgomery, that's like the X factor in fantasy. You got a guy like David Montgomery, that's like championship right there. Appreciate you. Boom shakalaka. Thank you, man. Thank you supporting. If not, we would be in trouble. Stacks on stacks, racks on racks. Fantasy champ. Bang, bang. Back-to-back fantasy champ, more than likely. It would almost be a shame for you not to win it. You know, it's like if I had a team like that and that was me and I'm you this year, like that's a deserving team. That's what a fantasy championship team looks like and acts like. Consistency every fucking week, you know, and even teams that have their best week, it's not good enough, you know, because you don't have the top tier players. Top tier players do top tier points. And there's nothing reflecting that in another direction. Nice job. Reflect is almost at 200. All right, Jalen Hurts, 35. Kyron Williams, 22. Joe Mixon, 23. CD, 40. Brian Thomas, 15. Njoku, 17. Montgomery, 15. Defense, 13. Detroit, kicker, 8. Tyler on the bench with 22. Laporta with 16, 17. Bigsby with 11. And obviously, when I have a player and I release them, of course, Reflect picks up that player. You know, if you just pay attention to what I do every year and just pick up the players that I drop, you can create yourself a super team also. Okay? I just can't keep everybody that I know that is good. I do the research. You scoop them up. You know. But you also do the research as well, so it's not just me. Purdy. That's a lot of points, man. And Zini's season high is 191.18. What are you at? You are at 188.76. So if CD can get you 3-4 more points, you're going to have the highest point total of the year. And obviously, good fantasy numbers are 130 to 200. You know, that's the reality. Those are the numbers that's a good number for PPR league. You know, and again, you know, for some of us, you know, it's very difficult to even get to 100. You know, that's when you know how bad things are. 70 to 100 or 70 to 99. Oh man, it's not fun. But for people that are getting 130 to 200, you're living your best life. And that's also when you know that you're doing really, really well, is that when you can outscore the other team with like 2 to 3 players. When you can outscore the other team you're playing with 3 players and they have 9 and you have more points with 3, yeah, you're balling. You're balling out of fucking control. Big sack lunch. Cowboys. They're making this a game. 30 to 24. Oh my. Dallas. My goodness. It's 12 noon. You know what time it is? Time for a sack lunch. Yum, 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 yum. I mean, that was like a missile. My neck and my back. I mean, and you wonder how people have like fractured vertebrae and they get whiplash. Cowboys deciding, hey, let's play some defense today. How about that? Yeah. What, you know, when I end up letting go of a piece in fantasy, most of the time it isn't trash. It's a good piece that probably underperformed. I gave up too early, and then someone else can take advantage of that quality piece. You know, but I never roster anybody that's shitty ever. I'm always rostering top tier. Now it just depends if that top tier, you know, during that week or season actually performs. And then if they don't, or I need another piece, then I have to let it go. I never want to let go a lot of the pieces that I have in fantasy. You know, sometimes you have to, though, right? To try to compete. So regardless if my team is undefeated or if my team is terrible, I still make a shitload of moves. You know, I'm always improving. Every piece, every bench piece matters. There's not one, you know, piece that's not like valuable. And if your bench is as good as your starters and you could play anybody on any given week, that's when you know your team is good enough to win a championship, because that's what you're going to need for depth. Yeah. If you can get one more TD with CD, score the most points in fantasy in the league, get to 200, that'll slightly make up for the Hawks, you know. But every Hawk fan knew that was going to be a tough game. The disappointment is the defense didn't play well, and Josh Allen looked like Josh Allen at Buffalo, and the crowd didn't help, and the offense didn't score enough, and it just wasn't a good game overall. But again, it's not like you're going to see that too often out of Seattle. There's going to be good games and there's going to be bad games, but again, there's not very many Josh Allens in the NFL. It just so happens you played one. You play Josh Allen, you play Lamar, that this could happen, right? Even if the Buffalo O-line or defense is sus at times where, they're not the greatest, right? Especially their defense. Buffalo's defense normally isn't very good. They play in spurts. So sometimes they play like a top 10 D, but also they can play like a bottom 5 D once in a while too. But I hope that you guys will bounce back, and still think the Hawks are in good position to win the NFC West. And if they, for whatever reason, have to get second place to the Rams or the Niners, hopefully they can get hot enough to do some damage in the playoffs. Because obviously the Bucs aren't going. Dak almost intercepted. Fred Warner and company. Dak. You got to be a little bit more elusive with your eyes. If they're gonna have linebackers that are like Fred Warner that are cluing on your eyes, he's reading you the whole way. I mean, Fred Warner is a Hall of Famer. Come on. Yeah, flush it. Huskies, flush it. Tampa Bay, flush it. Seahawks, flush it. We don't even need to watch the fucking tape. Flush that bitch all the way down the toilet. Let's move on to next week. Except that you guys can actually win games. Tampa can't. And Baker went from being an MVP candidate to, being just another guy that it's a top 16 quarterback, where he had a chance to win the MVP. Maybe we get to the playoffs. Maybe we win the NFC South. Maybe we overachieve and make the NFC championship game and lose. But that will never be a reality now. And Chris Godwin being in a Buccaneer uniform, I might have seen that for the very last time. Thanks a lot, Roquan Smith, you bastard with a hip drop tackle. But hopefully I get to see Godwin again. And I do like Roquan Smith, but that was just unfortunate. Hip drop, boo. Roquan, boo. Chris Godwin, yay. Mike Evans, yay. But I don't have him anymore, boo. Going deep. Oh. What a throw by Dak in the air. Guys running full speed. People have to realize there's two kinds of throws in football, where you throw to the man, right? And there's also throwing to an area. And I think that's one part of football that a lot of fans don't understand, that sometimes there's timing routes where the quarterback says hut, hike, and in 3 seconds, he throws the ball to a spot. So if the receiver isn't there, those are things that lead to interceptions or like, oh my God, what was that? Because they're not throwing to the guy when they're open or leading a guy or throwing, to a specific spot. There's different types of throws in the NFL. And I think that the average or typical, fan that, maybe watches but doesn't understand that aspect, there's a lot of big plays and a lot of bad plays that happen when quarterbacks have to throw to an area. It's either going to be, oh my God, that was the best touchdown I've ever seen, or oh my God, who the fuck was that to? And it's like a pick six, or or it's like 25 yards away from the receiver. Like, the fuck happened? Got to get the Huskies a win. Got to get the Hawks a win. And I'll live vicariously through you guys too, and I'll be rooting for your Hawks living here in Oregon to do well, because Atlanta's going to win the NFC South. You guys can make it, right? But we'll see where the Rams and Niners go as well. It'll be kind of weird to see how it all plays out between the three of you guys, all jumbled, next to each other, right? You're going to get the Eagles and the Commandos in the playoffs, and then you got a jumble in the North, where you're probably going to get the Lions and Packers, and maybe Vikings, but Bears obviously lost a tough one today, and they're the worst team. But even though they're the worst team in the best division, the Bears can still play good football and beat the elite teams once in a while. The mid teams, most of the time, and the bad teams, they're doing pretty good. So, but we would assume the Bears will not make it. And even if you get Vikings, Lions, and Packers to make it, it definitely feels like the NFC is open. There's not really one dominant team besides the Lions, and they lost Aiden Hutchinson. So you got to think at some point that defense has a bend but don't break method. But if you don't got your best player on defense, how long are you going to go before you stop outscoring opponents? You know, you're doing good now because you're playing the Titans and you can put up 50. But if you actually play a good team with a good defense and you're going to have to score 20-something, can you win those close games? And, you know, it's fair to say, you know, the Lions are one of the best, but I'm not penciling them in automatically to the Super Bowl, you know, or even the NFC Championship game for that matter until, you know, we see a little bit more consistency out of that defense. But offensively, they are the scariest offense in the NFL today. I can agree to that, you know, but no Aiden Hutchinson. Like, it's possible that they overachieve and then they actually do get to the Super Bowl and the NFC Championship game with that, you know, as long as Montgomery, Gibbs, Goff, Laporta, you know, all those guys stay healthy, you know, with the offensive line with Penei Sewell and Ragnow, then yeah. Yeah, I want the Huskies to win. I want USC to win. Hell, I'll even want UCLA to win. I want the Beavers to win. Like, you know, I'm a conference guy. I gotta be an NFC South guy. I gotta be a Pac-12, Pac-10, Pac-8 guy. Yeah, we're in the Big Ten now, but you know, I feel like it's kind of like a brotherhood or sisterhood. We got to stick together. And obviously Utah would have been better than UCLA, but they wanted to keep the UCLA for the basketball as well as the rivalry with USC. You know, but Utah would have been a better choice than UCLA if we really wanted to be better as a Big Ten, you know, because Utah would have been badass. Utah, USC, Washington, and Oregon, that would have been badass. But, you know, I'm not controlling shit, right? 3rd down and 2. Bouncing it to the outside. 1st down, Niners. That's not Jordan Mason. Yeah, and again, I love Detroit. You know, I've always been a big Barry Sanders guy, you know, Megatron. I've always liked rooting for the lovable loser, you know, and they finally got the right coach. And honestly, if I could root for a team, you know, other than, you know, you guys to be able to get back there one day, you know, for the Hawks, if they can get good enough to get to that point, build the O-line, build the defense, have a Ravens team, and then get there and win. Yeah. But if there was one team in the NFC or in the NFL that I could root for to win it all, it would be the Detroit Lions. That's the team that I would be rooting for, you know. Eminem deserves to be happy. You know, a lot of people deserve to be happy. Barry, you know, all the Herman Moore, you know, Mitchell, you know, they've been through a lot, you know, and again, they got cool uniforms, a cool fan base. You know, they've had some of the best players ever, kind of like the Mariners. You know, they've had Barry Sanders, they've had Megatron, we had Ichiro, Randy Johnson, Griffey, but we don't have a championship to show for it, right? But with the Lions, you know, Lions and Chiefs in the Super Bowl. That'd be interesting. Final score, Niners 30, Cowboys 24. All right, Elliott beat me by $1 billion. Matt and Captain Oreo are going at it. You're going to need a pretty good day out of Boswell, which is possible for you to win. So we'll see on how that plays out. Reflect almost got to 200. Second highest point total to Zini, 188.76. Chief Will Chief had no shot. Shout out to him for coming in earlier and throwing down a dono and supporting. But he had a bench spot open and took his defense and just said, fuck this. I'm not releasing any one of my guys, and there's no one worth picking up on the wire that I'm going to even come close. So he just said, fuck it there. And then Zini looks like is going to beat Shep unless something crazy happens. She only needs 3 points. And Shep is done, and she's got Najee. So unless Najee goes down with an injury, then she won there. And then you got Megan and Sarah battling it out to see who can get to 95 to 98 points. That's our reality now for teams like me and Megan and Sarah. We can't even think about getting to 150 or 180. Hell, we're getting to 70 to 90. That is our life. See how it goes there. So, man, oh man, oh man, oh man. But salute, to the people at the top, Reflect and Shep and Zini and Elliot and Matt. And obviously you got teams like Chief Will Chief as well as Captain that are there, and it's like I said, it's like you're going to have to try to catch up, and Chief Will Chief and Captain Oreo's teams have players good enough that one of them could maybe make it into the Final Four. But again, it's all about matchups and, putting in the right players, not leaving too many points on the bench, and, trying to play to the best of your ability. And I guess probably taking advantage of, teams like Sarah, Megan, and myself that no matter what we do, it just never seems like it's good enough, unfortunately. But, again, it can't be all of our years every single time. But I am hoping that Megan and Sarah and myself can get at least a few more wins. Or if we're still going to lose, let us have our best players play the whole game and not get hurt. So that way, if we lose, maybe we can still score 130, 140, 150 and get robbed while you guys score a little more when we have like the game of the year and then you guys still beat us. But that way we at least can be like, you know what? I did the best that we could. We got 140 points and we lost because the sports gods hate us for whatever reason this year, and then we can feel good. Like, I'm sick and tired of having my guys get hurt like every game. Like, you get a guy hurt every week that doesn't complete the actual game and it's in your starting lineup. Guess what? You lost. So, yeah. You're doing better and you've only started playing. But for me and Sarah, this is not acceptable, for based off, fantasy standards, because I think we've been playing a little bit longer and whatnot. But you are doing better than last year. I will agree to that. All right. What kind of photos do you want? Reflect. Let me know. Let me sprinkle some photos up if there's anything. And then I got to be able to eat dinner and take Paisley for a walk, but I want to make sure I show my appreciation. And thank you for coming through. Because if it wasn't for Sarah starting it off and then Chief O'Chief coming in and then Reflect with the slam dunk alley-oop, yeah, we definitely never would have even got close to goal. We probably would have hit 1/10 of the goal, if that. So. Yeah, but that was just kind of an off game. Hubbard has been like top 5 running back almost like for a month and a half. That was just playing a team that had a top defense, and he didn't end up getting into the end zone, because even when you play a top defense in the league, the way that he was playing, that he still would have normally got in once. When he plays a bad team, that's when he's getting 2 touchdowns or getting like 120, 30 yards. So you got to understand, like, sometimes it's just like a bad game script, or it's just that team that you played that one week. We get emotional when we end up getting duds. It stinks.
Obviously amazing to be out here with guys like this, making plays and stuff. But you talked about playing, complimentary football. With the defense and the offense stepping up, special teams making plays and stuff. That's huge. But obviously the first one felt great.
And it is National Tight End Day. Have you guys heard that from him yet? I'm not sure. After your 500 catch, how did you have this performance on this day?
That's all Brock and our whole team, and just opportunities and opportunities. Actually, I'm successful.
All of them.
Just right here working together, offense, defense, special teams, all playing off each other tonight. We're a little slow there, the second half a little bit, but we found our rhythm. Our defense came up big, and we're able to.
George Kittle's like, this is what I fucking do. I score fucking touchdowns. If you would have drafted me in fantasy, you're eating. National Tight End Day. Eat. Great. Awesome.
It's George's world. We're just living in it.
Enjoy your belts. Enjoy the win.
Thank you so much.
George is like, I got a real one. It's like this cheap ass thing. He's like, this thing is terrible. It's like, this is like some custom one that was done like cheap for like $100. Like, you can get a WWE one that's like 500 to 700 that at least like looks good. Like, if you're gonna present the player with a belt, you can't give them a fucking KB Toy Store's replica. Come on now. What was that? Come on. You're like a $1 billion organization. That's what you give them? All right, take care. Great Zoom. Great names. Come on. Got me sounding like Shinsuke Nakamura. I like always like the random names in sports.
I'm thinking about 3 and 4. John Lynch, you guys have been here before and gone on to the NFC Championship. Maybe this could be the start of one of those runs tonight.
Zoom.
Well, let's hope so. This was a critical game for us, no doubt about it. I think in the first half, I thought some sloppy football.
Do you watch a lot of Huskies basketball? I kind of go in modes when I watch Oregon basketball. Like back in like the late 90s and the early 2000s, like I would watch a lot. And then as the years went on, I didn't really watch as much, but I definitely try to watch a little bit. So. Yeah, you made a mistake doing that. You should have played Baker. If you look on your bench, if you would have played some of your other pieces, that's one thing to lose in fantasy when you don't have any pieces on the bench to win. But when you end up having, guys putting up 15, 18, 20, and that's on the bench, and you could have used that there's your win. If you just would have played the right matchup, like I said, sometimes, we fuck up and like you had an opportunity to win and sometimes we drop the ball. And there's other times where you just don't have anything to pull from the bench because there's nothing there, and then you have to hopefully learn from that experience and hope it doesn't happen that often because leaving points on the bench is the worst way to lose. It's one thing when you don't have anything to put in, fuck it, right? But when you do and you're like, oh my God, if I just would have put this person in, I would have won. Those hurt the most. Oh, wow. Yeah. They've had a few years where they were really special and fun. The Brandon Roy era, always fun. Nate Robinson era.
It is difficult, Rodney. I mean, staying healthy is so critical in this league, and it's happened to a lot of our best players. Brandon Ayuk last week, and Christian McCaffrey. We haven't played with them yet. Those guys are game changers, and that's tough. But proud of the team. We've let a couple wins we had in our grass go, so we wish we were a little better right now, but we're still in this thing. And I know there's better football in front of us, so we just got to keep going. McCaffrey, we're hopeful to get him back here after this bye, and Drake Greenlaw hopefully in the near future. So those guys, you start getting those guys back, we'll be a better football.
How cool is it to have a guy like this, man? I just get pumped up listening to this guy.
And when he talks about
yeah, I mean Baker's still going to get points. It's just not going to be the same. We don't have Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, so there's going to be more interceptions. It's not like the points are going to be like 10 in fantasy for Baker. Baker can still get you 15 to 25, but you just don't really know when he's going to be, 15 and under or when it's going to be 20 to 30. Some of the players will make plays and he's going to have some games where he ends up getting 2, 3, 4 interceptions. And then you just got to hope that he's got 2, 3, 4 touchdowns when that happens.
So I think it gave you more of a global look at the game.
I got to get another photo up here.
At some point, I missed the scoreboard. I missed after a great broadcast, it was fun. I said the right opportunity had to present itself. The stars aligned here, and we've had a lot of fun for 8 years. Haven't achieved what we want, which is a championship.
Good old Frank.
We got to keep going until we get it. And then I'll go back.
I'll tell you guys, I'll let you in on the story. John was calling me back and forth, talking about possibly coming with NBC. And I was telling him how great it was to work at NBC, and he'd really enjoy it. And he calls me back and says, I'm going to the 49ers. The general manager. So where did that come from?
So what is the best advice he gave you as it pertains to your job? You know what he did? This was early on in the job, like the first week. He said the most important thing you and Kyle can do, you think you know each other, you really don't spend as much time watching film, because as you guys are watching film, you'll start to come up with your vision statement for this team, who you are, who you want to be, what kind of players do you want to surround. And that's what we did. Kyle and I, to this day, we spend a ton of time together, and that's the only way you can be in lockstep. And fortunately, we enjoy each other.
Yeah, I mean, if you can look at Kansas City's defense, they don't really get a lot of sack lunches and interceptions, you know, so it's like, you know, if Baker goes against the Chiefs, they'll lose. But, you know, he'll probably put up 2 touchdowns and 2 picks. So I don't know about the yardage, though. So, like, if he gets 2 touchdowns and 2 picks, like something like that, you know, if he ends up getting 150 yards, you might lose. And he might get, like, you know, 15 points or something like that, you know. But then if you end up getting, you know, 250 yards plus, and he gets 2 touchdowns and 2 picks, you know, then, you know, maybe he'll end up getting in the 20 to 28 range. So, you know, or if he gets a running touchdown in also. So it's tough to say. That's my personal input. He's still going to put up touchdowns with his legs and with his arms. It's just not going to be, you know, it's going to be more interceptions, more fumbles. And again, we're going to be playing from behind now. And so there's going to be more opportunity for him to fuck up because we're going to be behind in games. And when you're throwing to not Mike Evans and not Chris Godwin, and you're throwing to guys like Sterling Shepard and, you know, Cade Otton, which was good today, 2 touchdowns, but, you know, and McMillan, it's going to be a little rough, you know, especially if the ball isn't in the right spot. These guys are young, that they're capable of making some plays, Sterling Shepard and Jalen McMillan and Cade Otton and Rashad White and Bucky, but, you know, it's definitely a drop-off from not having 2 Hall of Famers to throw to. But it's just not going to be the high-end numbers aren't going to be there, you know, like they were with Mike and Chris. But you're still going to get stats. You just have to account for the fumbles and at least 2 interceptions a game, more than likely moving forward. There'll be some games where he has none or 1, but most will be 2, I would assume, because he's going to be trying to squeeze that football in there. A big man. Anything else that you want to be able to see reflect before we go? I got to be able to take Paisley for a walk, and I got to eat some dinner. Make sure I give her some attention. But I want to make sure we get everything taken care of here. Anything else that you want to be able to see? And then we're going to be doing Steelers and Giants tomorrow. And then I'll do probably World Series on Tuesday and Wednesday. And then Thursday will be the Jets and the Texans.
Until that last 2 drives, right? I think they had 12 yards or something in the second half. You're playing lights out. What was the difference? Was any schematic difference?
I mean, we just had to make them one-dimensional. You know, we know going into the game, they weren't great in the run game. They had a couple of leaky yardage in the first half, and we had to stuff the run in the second half.
Squeeze in a couple right before we go. A little Hawaiian Island vibe. Hawaiian's finest, Marcus Mariota, Heisman winner. We just need a natty to pair up with that. And we might get a natty and a Heisman. Dylan Gabriel might win it all, and he might win the Heisman. I mean, he's in it. He's going to be in the top 5 consideration, especially if Oregon stays number 1 and is undefeated. You know, Genty will be there at running back. Cam Ward and another quarterback will probably sneak themselves in there. You know, Quinn Ewers, whoever, you know. Travis Hunter as the wide receiver corner, but you'll have a running back, a wide receiver corner, and probably 3 quarterbacks. And so, whoever wins it, wins it. Saul Goodman.
Came out in a big way. We needed it too, especially after how the first half went.
I think I want to rewatch Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. Like, watch them. But that takes commitment from me. Like, if I'm going to start a show, like, I really, like, avoid certain shows because if I know I started and if it's, like, more than 5 seasons, I have to finish it before I start something else. Like, I don't like bouncing around from, a bunch of shows. Like, if I start a show, I have to finish the show. And then if I don't like it as much, then I start another one and then I go back to it, but I have to make sure if I start a second show, I'm finishing that one. And that's why I typically do the same shows like Game of Thrones or Dexter or Grimm or True Blood. I like kind of going through those shows and, I don't know, it's like maybe a comfort thing, being comfortable with watching a show, even though I've seen it before, instead of like diving into something new, which I probably should, but diving into a new show is like a commitment.
The team meeting the night before the game, and the guy just, man, he's just on it, man. He has his running backs in that room, doing a little tennis, before the game, all that stuff. I like that. But yeah, Martin, he the true MVP.
So Christian McCaffrey's out, and George Mason comes in and he's playing great. When he gets hurt, if Dorendo comes in, they don't miss a beat.
Yeah, man, I think that's Dorendo's second time, man, sliding down there towards the end zone. This is a real savvy cat, man, as a rookie. And I love the way that he plays as well. A lot of speed, a lot of burst about his game.
That's the man right there.
Well coached, man.
Bro, we've seen you guys at 3 and 4 before.
Great character. Well, I love you guys, and I appreciate you guys very much. I still owe you more photos tomorrow. You can let me know, and I'll get you some more at that particular time. We got Steelers and Giants tomorrow. Not the most epic matchup on paper, but we'll see how it goes. But I appreciate every single one of y'all who liked, subbed, donated, commented, shared. I appreciate you. For all the people that won in fantasy, keep winning. Be like, reflect, and shoot for the stars and be great. And for the other chunk of us that are in fantasy hell, we only got a few more weeks until it's over. So, and things will be better after that. And hopefully we can get a few dubs before the season is up. So, but I love you guys and I appreciate you guys very much. Shout out to Sarah, Captain, Matt, Reflect, all of y'all. Love you and appreciate you, as well as Chief with Chief. And I got one question for you. Who talk sports like us? Your boy Ryan, Northwest Sports Fanatics. Be like, Reflect, in fantasy, and you can win. And I'm out. Gang.